All right, guys. So I wrote this in the mid 2000s about blue chips. I wrote that it turned out to be the Penny Hardaway of sports movies, ironically. Unlimited potential, great start, peaked early, some ups and downs, ultimately disappointing, and then kind of grows on you year after year. And I wrote that mid 2000s. We did like kind of a tester sports movie Hall of Fame pod maybe 8 years ago, and I liked it more. Yeah. And now we're in 225 all these years later. And I like it more than I used to. And I think it just makes me nostalgic for whatever this weird era of sports movies and young skinny Shaq and young Penny Hardaway and Nick Nolte and whatever they're trying to do in this movie. I don't know. I really enjoyed rewatching this.
I think it actually is an inverted sports movie. And if you look at it that way, it works better. It's inverted because it's a feel-bad sports movie. It starts out with them losing.
Yeah.
It starts out, then it goes to him compromising on his principles, and then it goes to his career's over.
There's no heroes.
Nope.
There's no takeaways.
No.
There's a lot of unintentional comedy, Van. There's some really fun basketball that's shot in a super weird way, but it's still compelling to watch. But you're watching it going, why didn't they just bring the camera back? I just would have loved to have seen all of these famous players from the 90s play together. And Louisiana's in it. So I know your feelings.
Love it. Well, first of all, it was part of Shaq's media rollout as a pro.
Yeah.
Shaq and Penny together was like, oh my gosh, Shaq and Penny are in a movie.
But we barely knew who Penny was.
Barely knew
at
who
this
Penny
point.
was.
Shaq had real gravitas.
Shaq was a gigantic star,
Yeah.
but Memphis was still Memphis State at this point. Penny was this silky smooth big guard from Memphis State. And then when you see him in the movie, it's part of what makes him a celebrity.
Yeah.
But the film itself also is interesting in that it predicts the future. It's
Yeah.
an easier film to watch retrospectively because so many of the things that it was about like came to pass.
Well, that's why we want to do this, because
Yeah.
now we're in the NIL era, which is the era that Blue Chips was telling us for 30 years. We should be in this era.
Yeah.
And now we're actually in the era. And it's, I remember I saw this movie in the theater with my dad and my buddy Kurt Sanger. And we were really excited.
There's something every time you mention a guy you went to the movies with.
Kurt Sanger, the Juice Man.
For sure. The Juice Man.
The Juice Man.
He was in town. We call him Juice. It was one of those things where we would give... We also had a friend named Night Train. We would give our friends weird nicknames. We would do like weird football nicknames from the 40s and 50s, just for normal people.
Okay.
But anyway, we saw this movie, super excited. Nick Nolte, Friedkin.
Super excited because you thought it was going to be like...
Thought it was going to be great. It's like, and this was the era where sports movies had shifted from that Rocky model that we talked about in the Rocky pod, which goes from like through Hoosiers to the late 80s. Then there's like a little kids era, but then the Ron Shelton era comes in. He wrote this movie. Bull Durham's happened. We're moving toward like a more sophisticated sports movie, but we're not quite there yet. And this movie never really figured out what it wanted to be, but on cable, still like really rewatchable. And I think it has a weird kind of tale.
Yeah,
right?
it for sure. Number one, I mean, it has that tale because of nostalgia, has that tale because of the relevance of the subject matter of the movie.
Yeah.
But also it's an easy watch.
Yeah.
It's a easy watch. The movie it talks a little bit about some of the poverty that the players live in and like what they're going through, but it doesn't get too deep into it. It talks a little bit about the corruption of the NCAA, the NCSA, or their draconian rules, should I say, but it doesn't really go too hard into it. Happy is a very easy villain to root against. It's like
Chris isn't rooting against them. If to Chris, this is a happy movie. It's a JT Walsh extravaganza.
Love JT Walsh. You know what's funny? If in today's
Happy
world,
would run shit.
Happy is the hero, and Pete Bell, the guy who doesn't want to pay the players, he's the villain.
Yes.
If you do the movie today,
there was a nostalgia thing in a couple different ways, but one of the things that it was such a big deal that all these college guys were in the movie, and even like Calbert Cheaney and Hurley and people like that in the game scenes.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about how much we cared about college basketball when I was in college. Like we were talking about, it was St. Patrick's Day, and I was on a thread with my college buddies. And like one of my great sports memories in college was Princeton and Georgetown.
Oh, yeah.
On St. Patrick's
Pete
Day.
Carroll team.
And we were just at a party watching that, and the entire campus was locked in on that game. Like, we all watched the Lathan shot game together. We really cared about Kenny Anderson on Georgia Tech and what Shaq was going to do on LSU, and just and Latner was like a college god, and UNLV Larry Johnson just showing up and being like, it seemed like he was like 25 and just kicking ass. We cared about all these people. So them being in this movie with Bobby Knight, with Patino, with Boeheim, with Tark as like these funny characters, like it really meant something back then.
Well, we also obviously naively believed in like the power of these institutions to recruit these players just like based on the reputation alone. And one of the things that I remember so clearly about like my college basketball fandom back in Philly was like when a kid would go to a school that was kind of on a little bit of a downswing, it's like, no, like Mark Macon's going to revive Temple, or
so-and-so's coming.
This guy's going. Can you believe that this guy's going to LSU? Like, this is amazing. And we were short of like, we weren't like pounding recruiting newsletters or anything, but we were like very aware when a big time freshman would come into a school and how that might change everything.
Yeah, Shaq and Chris Jackson, who then became Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, but those guys being on LSU together was like a huge
or even
deal.
Penny going to Memphis. But the fact that this movie was so explicitly broadcast as being about recruiting and about bringing these guys in, and it was very obviously going to be like, this is like UCLA, you know what I mean? And there was a bunch of real coaches, real players were going to be in it. It was like, I think you were almost led in to believe like this is going to be basically a movie version of my college basketball fandom. And it wound up being like, hey,
but it was directed by the guy from The Exorcist.
And this whole thing is about as morally upright as New York City was during the French Connection.
Yeah. And, you know, at that point, just back to the Shaquille O'Neal thing, at that point, there was just so much interest in him.
Yeah.
Like, in a way that, I don't know. I mean, I guess LeBron, right? Like in terms
all
of
those college, like Fab Five, Shaq.
Yeah, but there was just
Latner. Those guys were like massive stars.
And Shaq didn't do the thing that a lot of players do, where they play 4 or 5 years in the league and then they go, you know what? I want to be a multimedia star. I want to rap and I want to do all of that stuff after they've gotten their feet wet in basketball. No, Shaq got into our cultural sphere and was like, I'm going to do all of these things and you guys are going to deal with Shaquille O'Neal as an entertainment force for like the rest of
took backlash for it.
Right. He did took a lot of backlash.
We were on a text start talking about that, and I was saying how I thought it took a while for Shaq to become kind of he was pretty polarizing, like because he was trying to be in movies, he was trying to rap, he was doing commercials, and there was this attitude of like, you haven't earned any of this yet. Like, win a playoff series. What is this guy doing?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that was a testament to the fact that you could become a real deal superstar off college basketball. Like, and you could become like this complete household name based on what you did in college basketball, like a Christian Laettner did or Patrick Ewing did.
Chris mentioned Mark Macon. I was like, I was invested in Mark Macon. I really liked his game. But there was like 50 of those dudes. That year, Kenny Anderson was with D. Scott, who's the third guy? Brian Oliver.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon 3.
We love that team. I remember watching a March Madness game late night with those guys. They're on the West Coast hoping, you know, and what do I care about Georgia Tech?
And before we started recording, you mentioned the Nolan Richardson 48 minutes or 40 minutes of hell or whatever.
Yeah.
These teams all had like weird identities.
You know some based on the coach. Like Knight in Indiana was the best version of that.
Like it would be like there were the teams that ran this very smooth, like incredibly elegant offenses. Then there were the like slam their hands on the court defensive teams. And there were the run and gun teams. There were the teams where you're like, man, like,
they're definitely whoever Tark was coaching.
Exactly.
The prep school killers from Duke.
Yeah.
And then like the UCLA the O'Bannon brothers with Toby Bailey and Cameron Dollar and all of these different guys. It was like a legitimate, there was a whole landscape of stars to choose from in college basketball.
And they were there for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. And UNLV Duke was kind of that, and then in the Weber timeout game, the Laettner shot. There are all these like beats. Hank Ather's-Dying was like probably the biggest.
What year's Fab Five? Is that 90?
Fab Five started 91 and kind of went through.
Yeah.
Okay. So this comes after Fab Five, right?
Yeah. I got, well, I'll save. I have a Fab Five thing for this, but we also have Friedkin directing.
Yeah.
Which was a big deal for the movie nerds. And I was like becoming a movie nerd, but didn't really fully understand the impact of how weird that would be to have this guy who did The French Connection and The Exorcist We just knew he was a good director. Didn't have a shitload
But
of history.
obviously has a pretty dim opinion of humanity. You know what I mean? Like, I think is like, we are all basically like corrupt hustlers.
Yeah. But Love Basketball there's this crazy backstory with him where he was this massive Celtics fan and had a chance to buy the Celtics in the end of the late 70s. You know this whole story? There's this guy, Irv Levin, who ended up switching franchises with John Y. Brown.
Freaking could have been Chisholm.
Irv Levin, John Y. Brown owned the Clippers. Irv Levin owned the Celtics. Irv Levin didn't want to own the Celtics anymore because he couldn't deal with Red Auerbach and the fans were mean to him because he didn't live in Boston. And Friedkin was this huge Celtic fan. He's like, I'll let you buy 1/3 of the team and you can run it. And Friedkin was like a famous director. You can read this. He tells the whole story and he's really thinking about, should I do this? And then ultimately decided not to do it. They switched franchises. That's how the Clippers end up moving to LA. John Y. Brown sells and we get Larry Bird.
Did you ever meet Friedkin?
No, but I had no idea until I did the research what a massive fan he was. And it's why Kouzi's in this.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was friends with Kouzi. Like he asked Kouzi for advice, and then spoiler alert, Kouzi wins the movie. Like this is an all-time incredible Bob Cousy performance.
Like Kouzi he's like a natural actor.
Yeah. And he has the free throw scene. CR, is this a Nick Nolte movie, a JT Walsh movie, or a Shaq movie for you?
It's a Nolte movie.
Okay.
I think the two things in my mind that I keep turning over about what ifs with this movie are what if somebody different played Pete Bell and what if Ron Shelton had directed it. I think if Shelton directs it, it probably has a lot more humor.
It's more fun.
And there's a little bit more warmth to it. And I think Nolte is perfectly cast because these coaches do have this kind of like irascible, never happy vibe to them. Like you never saw Boeheim smile. You never see Tom Izzo really smile until the end of the season. Like these guys are always screaming. They're always coaching. Right. And Nolte really brings that out. I don't know what it would have been like if Redford had been Pete Bell or something.
Yeah, in a weird way, it's almost the most realistic possible version of this.
It's interesting because he's obviously doing his Bobby Knight thing, right? In which he shadowed Bobby Knight.
He shadowed him, yeah.
No, you know what it is.
What?
It's Bobby Knight crossed with Jack Cates.
Oh, there you go.
This sucks.
But there's something else.
I'm giving my girlfriend the high hard one.
But
said I'm here.
Jesus,
jerk
Christ.
off loser like you.
Yeah. But there's something else that we never got to see from Bobby Knight. Every time we saw Bobby Knight, he was either being like, kind of a rascal, like very humorous, picking at people, or, being a guy who was right on the edge of being too intense and then obviously crossed over that edge later on. But they do something in this movie where they show you times where Pete has to humble himself, where he has to like contend with the fact that he doesn't have a handle on his team anymore. He has to kind of ask his ex-wife for some ass a little bit and get rejected. Like they kind of knock him off the perch of all-powerful college basketball coach.
Yeah.
And that is why the character works. Because like
plus you can just walk around apparently in this part of LA where the university is, just have a walk back home to your house. There's no people anywhere. What part of LA is this? Well, where is this?
It's like something that's like, it's UCLA, but it looks more like USC, but it also looks like Louisiana.
It's a giant arena that has no parking lots and no parking and just houses right outside and no people.
The interesting thing is you probably could walk home if you're the coach of UCLA. You definitely can't walk home if you're the coach of SC. Right. So you definitely don't want to be walking around down there. But I always thought it was supposed to be UCLA because of the colors and all of that. But they're on SC's campus.
Well, one of the things with this movie, and it was a big part of the marketing, and Friedkin talking about it, and just in general, it was like, we are going to do basketball correctly. We're going to have real players playing real games. We did all this shit. We had Pitino coaching a team against Nick Nolte with the players. Everything was like, boom. Same thing with Bobby Knight. There's all these stories about Bobby Knight taking it too seriously. They filmed it in Indiana in front of a crowd of 6,000 people. And they're like, we are now elevating the sports movie. And it doesn't totally work. It turns out there's still some good stuff in actually just structuring sports movie scenes.
I think basketball's the hardest sport to shoot.
Yeah.
I just think over and over again with, White Man Can't Jump works because it's 2-on-2. I think full court 5-on-5 basketball is so difficult. It's why the angles, like, it's like when they change the angle in an actual game, you're watching like an NBA game, you're like, please just go back to the. As soon as they're like, hey, here's a
TV
cool
angle.
baseline shot of this, I'm like, no, I want to see
Coach's
everybody.
angle.
Yeah, and it's like, I think that is, whether it would have been Friedkin or Scorsese or Coppola or PTA, like 5-on-5 hoops is just incredibly difficult to capture.
But that's why some of the 70s stuff, I mailed you a White Shadow pickup basketball scene yesterday. Some of the 70s stuff, they just didn't overthink it. They were just like,
I'll let it go.
Hey, wide camera, let's just watch some guys playing.
Yes.
And then they, as soon as they tried to get fancier, Hoosiers has some good stuff and some bad stuff.
The thing that I like about you is when you have an agenda, that agenda is all encompassing.
I like the 70s basketball footage.
You love White Shadow so much.
He kind of wants to do White Shadow instead of Blue Chips.
He does.
No, it's now it's too dated. It's like 50 years. But now it's like Coach Carter. We had that Finding Forrest or Coach Carter era of basketball where they went back to the wide shots.
Oh, I like that. You got back into you went from White Shadow to Coach Carter. So it's kind of like
those are the basketball movies.
It's like a DI thing you did.
No,
right
they went backwards though, and they stopped being like, we're gonna be right on the court. We're gonna go, here's the wide shot again. And then the way back, I think, did a good job.
Oh, the way back is like you know how I feel about that movie.
Yeah,
that's a
it's great.
completely underrated sports movie. I'll say this.
It's properly rated because we're doing it this year in the Rewatchables.
Oh, right. I'll say this. This movie was attempting to do something that I think I do agree with you. They overthought it. Because they're trying to shoot the game from the coach's perspective and put us right on the bench where you can see that the team comes out, they're playing with a lot of energy, and then the game is getting away from them, and you watch the coach just unable to control the fact that he just doesn't have the talent, and you're supposed to be able to see that, and it just doesn't quite work. But every time I watch this movie,
too frantic.
Something always dawns on me. You watch so many basketball movies where they're playing basketball, nobody is sweating, nobody looks like they're into it. This does have the feeling because
competitiveness.
Of the competitiveness of that, the fact that they're actually playing basketball at a high level and trying to beat each other. So when the drama comes and it looks like his team is overwhelmed, that kind of does work. But the basketball itself doesn't work that well at all.
Widescreen helped it a little more. During the Square TV era, when this was Rewatchables, combined with how they shot it, it was really hard to follow the basketball. And then you'd watch like Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, man, these basketball scenes are great.
My favorite basketball scene in this one is probably the Indiana game because I find it very easy to like kind of navigate Bobby Hurley on the court. And I feel like that was the one where maybe it's just because I was so familiar with Bobby Hurley at the time.
Really missed his game. I liked his
but
game.
It's like
that was a good
that kind of point guard
is car accident.
Yeah, that kind of point guard.
His car accident's kind of underrated. I think he would have been a good pro.
Little swaggy, confident, right playmaker,
tough
great
Jersey
shooter,
kid.
tough, steal the ball. Like was an all-time favorite college.
He coaches Arizona State now.
Yeah.
And in any case, he just directs traffic in a way where you're kind of like, oh, you're right. Like there's a pick and he's going to come over there.
Old school.
That stuff is good, but they don't actually even flash to the scoreboard that much.
They don't.
I mean, Western gets their asses kicked most games of this movie, except for towards the end. You know what I mean? Except for that very last
I have
game.
a lot of thoughts on that basketball
I want to say one more
stuff.
thing about the basketball. Do you know what the best basketball in the movie is to me? The practices.
Yeah.
The practices to me.
And the coaching in the practices.
And the coaches in the practice.
Put your leg behind him when he's spinning around. I like all that
like
stuff.
all of that
Gets his hand right up on Ricky Rose's butt cheeks.
Yeah, he's like right there. Like,
get out of here, Ricky!
Right over the front of the rim, Butch. Unlock the left hit. Take your jersey off, right? You go with the blue team. Like all of that stuff, the practices are the stuff to me that like actually grounded the movie in being actual college basketball and authentic. You know what I mean?
When I tried to recruit Van for the Ringer, and he's like, I want 30K in a gym bag and a tractor. I was like, get out of here, Van!
Take that! You don't deserve to wear it.
Then 2 days later, he was working for us. It was like it never happened. I never understood that part of Blue Chips. With the pay stuff, so the movie kind of shifted, especially as in the last 10 years, people are like, these guys got to get paid and that whole thing. By 2023, Esquire was writing, Shelton and Friedkin seem to be foreshadowing the everyone sells out influencer culture of the 21st century. Interesting idea. I don't know if I 100% agree with it, but it does foreshadow something. I don't know if it was intentional because I really think they were just in the moment.
I think they were saying the quiet part loud, which is like, these guys deserve to get paid. This is a multi-billion-dollar business. and the players deserve to get
But
played.
we did this in the 70s though with one-on-one and with fast break because those are the same premises. Like, how can we cheat to win basically in college basketball?
Sure. I think also like there's an argument to be made that a lot of what Happy says is like kind of makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like where he's just like the collectives will take care of these people. You don't have to know about it. Like Happy kind of is.
Let's do it now.
Okay.
Which is why the gambling stuff is in there with Happy, because if it's not, then what Happy is actually.
But even the gambling stuff now is like almost quaint. Tony shaving points in a victory to miss the line is like, well.
I mean, but it's still, that at least still has enough of a stench to it that it is actually affecting, somebody's giving less than what they should be competition-wise. You're right.
Yeah.
But when Happy has the gambling stuff only because Happy is making so much sense when he's talking to Coach Bell that he wouldn't be villainous enough.
Just talk about Happy.
I love Happy.
You love the pool.
I
There's
love
just
the
a random
pool.
woman in the pool for no
Let me tell you
reason.
something. JT Walsh does something so crazy. Like, it's so swaggy. JT Walsh goes out on his diving board as he's dressing down Coach Pete, and he's just bouncing on the diving board. He's like,
no,
who are you to talk to me? Fucking make it work. I'm bouncing on the two Playboy Playmates.
What does he say about them when he introduces them to Pete? He's like, they're both huge fans of the program.
Yeah. I thought the movie could have easily taken a He Got Game turn right there for Coach Bell.
The problem with this movie is Happy is by far the most interesting character in the movie.
Right.
Like, he has
So
that
what do
one
we
scene
think
he's dressed
Happy
up to
does?
play tennis.
What do you think Happy does?
That's a good question. Like, you think Happy's in Hollywood in some way? Is he?
I think he probably made all his money in
I feel like he's like a film producer.
Yeah,
he's
like some kind of.
He's
but he
like
has
the
a
Saul
lot
Rubinek.
of time to worry about Western basketball.
Well, he's a tennis player too.
That's
the
true.
tennis
He does play a
outfit.
little tennis.
If I ever got divorced, I'm just turning into Happy. It's just going to be like dressed to play tennis all the time, doing phone calls while bouncing on the diving board.
Run the Harvard Westlake
Two cougars,
Collective.
two cougars in the pool, and I'm just trying to boost that Holy Cross.
Them wasn't no cougars. You could go. Those were
the ones he introduced to Coach. Those were
25-year-old women.
What are you talking about?
Those were cougars.
No, they weren't.
Those were in like their 40s.
Like Christy Brinkley. What are you talking about?
Late 30s?
No, Bill. No. Those
Which ones are we talking
women
about?
in the
I'm talking
bar
about the
that
women
he's like
in the
both
bar.
big
Those
fans
women
of
Oh
the
yeah.
program.
All right, you're right.
They're
They were.
definitely
All
not
right,
cougars.
that's fair.
Yeah, don't
Fudge
argue
on
white women
cougars.
with me. Don't do that. But I'm saying, Happy is the man. Happy is the one. Hey, is there somebody you can call to tell me whether or not, if I leave school and the mom will lose a house and job? Calls him. Hey, he's the coach. You're the coach. Get him to play. His mom's got a house with a yard. I'm like, talk your shit, Happy. Get out there. Stop acting like a bitch.
He didn't know how to be an emotion offense.
No, he didn't. He needs to be in a different offense.
He needs to be in a 1-4. What the fuck's going on there?
Where he can handle the ball and dish to other people.
You know what's really good is emotion offense.
It's so
Works
funny
for
to go
everybody.
back and watch this movie and listen to all that terminology and just be like, you almost have PTSD from basketball practice of guys yelling that out. Like, you're just like 1-4, 2, like 2, 3,
1-4.
yeah, like boxing one. And now it's all like flare
watching
screens
people run a 3-man weave and all of that stuff.
So Nolte's he's coming off the resurgence when he cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah.
Another 48 hours down and out in Beverly Hills. Like he's Cape Fear.
Prince of
Tides.
Prince of Tides. He's a pretty famous star. So they billed it as a Nick Nolte movie and they made a big deal. He shadowed Bob Knight. He modeled Pete Bell after Bob Knight. So we had that. We had the Shaq and Penny stuff. And I got to say, I think Shaq's good in this movie. Shaq takes a lot of shit for his acting. I think he's like borderline stealing scenes when he's in there. I love every time he's in
biased.
there. Yeah.
He's really funny.
Very funny. He's very funny. They let Shaq kind of be Shaq in the movie.
Yeah.
He's a bright spot, which is good because every other athlete that acts in the movie is fucking terrible.
Yeah. It's tough.
I don't know. I thought Penny was okay in the home 16.
Shit, no.
Like
one thing that I learned one thing that sparked my brain while I'm watching is athletes as actors has come really, really far. And it's probably because these guys are so used to being on camera now. They're on camera in many
that's a good
different
point.
ways.
Like Anthony Edwards and Hustle.
Yeah, like they're just
they're
used
performers.
to it's better, and they didn't get as many reps.
I like that. That's
back
a good
in
theory.
the day as they do now. But there's some rough rough athlete acting in this movie.
It's also like
Well,
a really
Dr.
kind of
J was the nadir.
It's
in
a
Fish That
brave-
Saved Pittsburgh.
choice for Penny and Shaq to do it. Honestly, for all of the people who participated in this movie to do it, because it's a pretty dim portrait of college basketball, right? Like,
I mean, the craziest thing is they let Indiana use the uniforms
Yeah.
and Bob Knight. I just have no idea what
Which
the
I
NCAA
haven't-
was thinking with that.
in nitpicks, if you're gonna let Indiana do it, then why do we have to get fake teams everywhere else?
Western Texas
Yeah.
or Texas State or whatever.
It was like, hey, we're gonna do a movie about digital media and the corruption and terrible stuff. Can we use all the Ringer studios
Yeah.
and all your logos? I'm like, sure, go ahead.
Your
Do you
colors,
want to
your
put Craig
deal?
Horlbeck in
Yeah.
it? Like, I just don't understand why they would even participate in this.
I will say Tony is a good actor.
But I think he's
well,
an actor.
I think
isn't
he's
he?
an actor.
He is an actor.
Yeah.
I know him a little bit. He is, but he's
Oh,
also
here we go.
All right.
All right.
You dropped
Jesus.
something. I know Tony from Blue
Oh my
Chips.
God.
but
Come
he's
on.
actually an actual real basketball player.
Anthony
too.
C. Hall, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a real basketball player.
He was
as
the
well.
only one they cast because he actually could act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have Patino, Knight, Raveling, Kuzi, Bird. Talk about the legend in a second. Tarkanian. Some of the players: Allen Houston, George Lynch, Wex Walters, Greg Graham, Chris Mills, our guy Rick Fox.
Come on, Calbert Cheney.
Rick
Say
Fox,
his name.
Cal Chaney.
Yeah, Cal Chaney in this.
So there's a lot of
Bullets.
people that it's this glimpse. And I could have done this for probably unanswerable questions later, but I'll do it now. I don't know where the fuck the Fab Five is. Like Jalen not being in this personally offends me.
Have you ever talked to Jalen about this movie?
No, I wish we could almost like call him and find
we
out.
should make it call Jalen Rose instead of call
Call
Russillo.
Russillo,
I don't like he's right there. He's as famous as any player they used, and he would have been perfect. And honestly, he could have played Tony.
Yeah.
I feel like Jalen could have acted.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Maybe
Kind of
he
the
didn't want
same
to do it.
story. Like you go up to Detroit instead of going up to Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you know what? When I did in doing the research for the movie, they say that Kevin Garnett is in the movie somewhere. I cannot fucking find Kevin
I don't
Garnett
think
in the
that's
movie.
true. He's too young.
Yeah, he would have been like
Yeah, he would have been
15
like-
years old.
They
wasn't he?
say he's in the movie.
maybe as a high schooler.
Yeah.
Geert Hammock is in the movie though. Remember him?
Oh,
yeah. Remember
yeah.
Geert?
Yeah.
from LSU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the backstory: Ron Shelton developed it in 1981 for Time Life Films. Bounced around the whole decade. Ends up at 20th Century Fox. Script goes in turnaround, and then White Men Can't Jump hits, and they're like, "Whoa, this movie!" Paramount Pictures acquires it, buries it, and then Sherry Lansing, the famous Sherry Lansing,
Who was
green lights
married
it.
to Freakin' at the time? Or dating him?
There might have been some romantic something. Gets Friedkin because Shelton can't do it because he's writing and directing Cobb, which is an insufferably bad movie. Like if you want to have a bad 2 hours, watch Cobb.
I have tried over and
It's
over and
just
over.
Watch
the-
Adolescence and then watch
Oh my
Cobb.
God.
I've tried so hard to like that movie.
Everything's perfect about it except the fact it's unlikable and not fun at all to
He
watch
is
it.
such like I've tried so hard. Like Cobb
Yeah,
was on
just
like
doesn't work.
a couple of months ago. It's not a watchable movie.
Doesn't work. So that's why he didn't do it. Basketball scenes filmed at Frankfurt High in Indiana. And Friedkin was talking about finding basketball players who could act because real actors just don't work in basketball movies. They kept changing the script and then eventually did the Pete versus Bobby Knight last game.
Mhm.
And they could not convince Bobby Knight to basically throw the game. And he was telling his guys what to do on defense and fucked up 2 different versions of the ending before they finally got the Shaq
alley-oop.
alley-oop.
lob.
Yeah.
But they said it was like just full games, play pickup as hard as you can. We're filming everything. And then they had a couple set plays at the end, and that was it. $35 million budget, made $26 million. A rare loser
Mhm.
of money for the Rewatchables. But I bet it made it back on DVD and all that.
Yeah,
other
and it's
stuff.
still, I feel like it's still around in the culture and it still gets referred to a lot.
Yeah, it beat its box office for sure.
Our guy Raj, what do you think?
He didn't fuck with it.
I think he liked it.
3 stars?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What Friedkin brings to the story is a tone that feels completely accurate. The movie's a morality play told in the realistic, sometimes cynical terms of modern high-pressure college sports.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Is the 90s the best sports movie decade?
I mean, it's my sports movie decade.
Blue Chips, The Program, White Man Can't Jump Above the Rim, Tin Cup, Rudy, Necessary Roughness, Little Big League, He Got Game, Rookie of the Year, Hoop Dreams, Jerry Maguire, Any Given Sunday.
Varsity Blues 99?
Yeah. So like you're looking at a complete, it's not just, because some of these movies are like super laudable.
Maguire's in there too.
Yeah,
It probably is. It's like
I mentioned Jerry Maguire, yeah.
They're definitely the most
It's like the Sons of the Rocky era.
the ones
basically.
I revisit the most. I don't know
Yeah.
if there's, with the exception of Maguire, it's not really, but like a movie like, say, Rocky or Moneyball that kind of transcended out of sports movies to become like a critically acclaimed film as much. I don't know.
There's not.
I think the 90s were the best because they made the most of them. They learned from all the mistakes from the other generation, but then the model kind of worked. Like this is my friend Mike Tolan. He made like 7 of these. Like he made Varsity Blues, Coach Carter, Summer Catch. Like you just kept making them over and over again because it worked every time. You'd make them for 15 million and they'd make 30 million in the box office. I think that the money kind of shifted against it eventually, but I just think they made like a shitload of them.
I also think that.
So I think you're right. Would
Sports
be my
culture
answer.
was at a point to where there were more things to litigate.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
So they were just the underdog story is something about sports that will always work. But when you get to the 90s, now you're talking about marketing, you're talking about agents. Like some of these movies are about sports culture.
But you know it changed.
What?
Documentaries come at the end of the 2000s.
Yeah.
That's when the sports docs came in and the content was immediately as good as a lot of these sports movies and doing the same themes. And some of them, it's like, I'd rather watch the great documentary of this.
Yeah.
What actually
I'd rather
happened.
watch The Last Dance than a Michael Jordan movie.
Or I'd rather watch YouTube highlights of this happening because everything was filmed anyway.
Yeah. It was just less access and I think that the territory was just ripe.
Which is why I still I loved Air. I loved Air.
I did too.
And I loved Air because I'm like, I want to know. Air could have been done as a documentary.
Yeah.
But I want the dramatic version of all of that shit happening.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just when I was doing research and I looked at all the movies, I'm like, wow, like this is a very, very deep decade for the sports movie.
I used to when I had my old site, I would always write about sports movies. And then when I got to ESPN, I would do reviews every time. And it got pretty dark in the mid 2000s. They were kind of running out of ideas.
Like after Friday Night Lights or whatever.
We moved into like this kind of gridiron gang era of these like specific ideas they're trying to do, and there'd be one big star. What was that movie with Josh Lucas? Was another one.
Oh,
they get one star for the poster.
Yeah, that was Baton Rouge.
One star for the poster. They'd kind of cheap out on everyone else. They'd try to make it for a certain amount of money.
There were a
and
lot
it was
of
kind of
like
the same movie you'd already seen 10
clearly
times.
going to be an inspirational story rather
they would
than
do
like
that too.
Slapshot or this or something where it's like, oh, you know what? I just like watching dudes curse while they play sports.
Let's take a break and then we'll do the categories. This episode is brought to you by Loom by Atlassian. It's always so frustrating driving to work, being really excited to do a podcast, and then these guys that I'm doing the pod with take shots at Bob Cousy in Boston. That's frustrating. It's also really frustrating when you start feeling stuck at work with too many unnecessary meetings. And luckily, there's a simple solution for that. Use Loom video messaging. It can simultaneously record both your screen and yourself, share a quick update, provide feedback, train a colleague, and everything in between. Plus, add Loom AI to your meetings for instant written notes and recordings. Try Loom today at loom.com. LOOM.com. All right, this is a fun one. What's the exact perfect age to see this movie?
I'm going to say like 14, 15 when you're a college basketball junkie, but I don't know if 14 and 15-year-olds are college basketball junkies anymore.
I went with 13.
Yeah.
12 or 13. I went a little bit younger. But now, if we're talking about now, I'm actually not sure. It might be
45.
It might be a little older. Yeah. But for me, I saw it at the perfect age.
Yeah.
And I was like 12 or 13 when it
I would
came
have
out.
said 16 in 1994.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Shaq.
Yeah, that's basically what I was. Yeah.
Most rewatchable scene. Possibilities. Pete Bell's first scene.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
He comes back in 2 times, just yelling at them, comes back. The dumbest team I've ever coached. It's some good Nolte. It's a good way to start a movie.
It's also like an interesting gambit. Nolte's such a vulnerable actor. He really doesn't need big glory moments, and in fact seems to hunt the opposite. And when you think about all of his characters, like Kate's character in Prince of Tides, he's just a punching bag, man. And when he comes on screen, you're like, oh, this is gonna be cool. He's gonna like give them a motivational speech. It's an anti-motivational speech, and then like just the way that you contrast him with Patino. Like Pete's hunched over, Patino's standing tall, and is like, you're a great official. That's why you're the best.
Yeah, he's like a smooth. Hey, I love you. I love you.
And that was like peak Patino then.
Yeah, Pete's wearing every loss. Next scene, Kuzi shooting free throws. Wow.
You're the only person in America who makes this the Rewatchables.
Oh my God. Well, let me give you some backstory. Watched an interview with Bob Cousy yesterday. He said Nolte suggested this because Nolte was kind of a jock. And Nolte's idea was we'll do the scene, you shoot a free throw, when you miss, I'll get the ball, then I'll shoot. We'll go back and forth because he kind of wanted to show off his free throw shooting. And Cousy said he made 21 in a row when they filmed it. So in the movie, he makes 10 straight, including a lefty.
And Nolte's like, don't you ever miss?
Yeah. And that, which was ad lib because Nick Nolte was getting pissed because he thought, when am I going to get to shoot my free throws? But the whole scene's good too because he's like, you got horses. What you need is thoroughbreds. But Cousy could barely say thoroughbreds because he had the French accent. But then we get the 2 reasons I'm incapable of cheating. One
Bob
is
Cousy had a French accent?
Yeah, Bob Cousy is French. He's a French immigrant. That's why he had that weird, he couldn't say L's and R's.
I thought that was always just like a Boston accent.
Yeah. No, he's like this French, then the Boston. That's why they were like certain.
When did he come to America?
His parents were like French immigrants.
But like, when did he come to America?
He probably born there or came earlier. I can't remember. But yeah, it was a French accent.
How about that?
I didn't know that. You can learn more about that watching the Celtics documentary on HBO.
His character, you don't even have to really think about it as Bob Cousy.
Well, he's allegedly named Vic, but
that whole character of like this kindly figurehead who's kind of like, what I don't know. You know what I mean? But is like, we're a good program, but it's like, your guys are fucking corrupt.
He's doing the Tom Hagen.
Yeah.
It's like, we went to the matches, I have no idea what's happening.
And you feel the worst for him. You feel the worst for him when Pete Bell goes off on his thing, and they go back to Cousy, and he's just putting his hands on because the AD's got to go too. Right. They're gonna get rid of everybody, and he's just
so you guys are telling me Bob Cousy hitting 10 straight free throws during a scene isn't rewatchable for you? The guy was like 70.
I'm sure he was.
Fucking legend. But it's like, said the crew was going nuts after.
What?
Crew was going nuts.
I wish JJ Redick was here right now.
The crew was going nuts.
You should start saying that about yourself. Like when I was interviewing McShay, oh my God, Cerruti was going nuts. Everybody was applauding me.
Well, Cousy tells the story that the day before they filmed the scene with Shaq and he missed like 14 or 15 free throws.
Yeah, but Cousy can't fucking dunk.
Cousy can't do shit. Like, so what are you talking about?
Cousy, listen, you saw what he could do. He's the best basketball player in the first 15 years of the league. How dare you? Go hang out with JJ Redick. Multiple MVP, 8-time champ.
They applauded him.
The crew applauded.
An American. He's a French American.
The crew applauded Bob Cousy.
He just said Shaq was shooting free throws. He could. Bob Cousy showed up Shaquille O'Neal.
He literally says that in the interview. He said the crew reacted because Shaq was so bad the day before.
Oh my God.
It's on YouTube. We can run a social video right now, and Bob Cousy will say this in a YouTube clip. Next scene. So my favorite part of this movie is when he goes recruiting.
It's awesome.
This is the best 15-minute stretch by far. I love seeing Butch McRae in Chicago. I love the gimmick of the other coaches there at every stop.
Yeah,
and Pete's getting like the red carpet. We get to see real Penny Hardaway highlights. Him just kicking ass in some Chicago gym.
Some guys really willing to take some smaller roles. Ed O'Neill's in like 3 scenes.
Yeah.
Robert Wool is in 1 scene.
Alfre Woodard's 1 scene. Is this the origin story of Arliss?
You might have been Wool.
Oh man, I haven't thought about that show in a long time.
I thought Gossett was great.
Fantastic. 1 scene, uncredited.
So this is like after Toy Soldiers. Like it wasn't like he wasn't red hot.
Yeah, he had already won an Academy Award. Yeah.
No, I'm saying Toy Soldiers, I got a little worried about Lou.
It's kind of awesome to, if you know.
We did on Rewatchables. I love that movie.
It helps to know a little bit about college hoops and recruiting at that time period or whatever. But like, he comes out of that office and you're like, I know who this guy is. He's the dude who runs this Catholic school. He always has like a fucking
Definitely
awesome
smacked
player.
the kid.
Yeah, but he does look out for their best interests, and he knows all these guys, and for whatever reason, Pete and him are good. You know,
When he comes out and he positions this as essentially a slave auction, right?
Yeah.
You can tell that he's having fun with it, but he has a cynical enough opinion of it to keep these guys in line. And he can read and write that whole thing. It's perfect.
Alfred Woodard sucking a cancer stick at one point there, CR.
maybe has the line of the movie when Pete's like, "What's he gonna become?" and she's like, "A millionaire."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She wants a job in a house. Then we go see the legend in Indiana. Why are you grunting?
I'm grunting because
We're about to. He knows he knows where this is going. He knows where it's going. You can't help yourself. He's grunting because he's the same feeling I just had. Just get it off your chest. Do it.
First of all, only movie he's been in.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know where they filmed it though?
In French Lick.
West
His
Baden,
house.
French Lick. Okay.
Nice
you know
house.
What, you know what else was filmed at that house?
What?
The greatest
that
commercial of the 80s.
The commercial, yeah, where they
That
became
was the
friends.
same drive. Pete drives down the same driveway that Magic drives down in the limo for the Converse commercial, which was the day that they became friends.
They became boys.
I thought Larry's not terrible as an actor.
I don't think their eye lines are matched up. So at one point, like Pete's like looking over here and talking to Larry Bird, and Larry Bird's like, "Hey, coach."
Yeah, hey, coach, how are you?
Larry has enough aura, like the kids say, aura, to
Yeah.
just kind of Larry Bird his way through any scene.
Yeah.
So when you see Larry Bird and Larry Bird is like keeping it like 100% real with him, just tell me what you want. It works.
Do you think Larry Bird in '94 was still just going out into the hot Indiana sun and getting shots up, or was he?
I had something for this later, but the short answer is no. He'd had like 2 back surgeries. There's no way. He's like, I'm just gonna go out and shoot some pickup. I have like
get my own
3
rebounds.
3 surgery repaired herniated discs. I'm just gonna go get some shots.
Get my own free throw misses.
Then we go see Neon in Algiers. Give us the Algiers scouting report.
Well,
because it seems hard to get there.
Well, it's West Bank, New Orleans. It's not as hard as they made it seem.
Okay.
Like,
it seems like they're going to like Cuba.
Like Jungle Cruise.
Like they made it seem, but we laughed at that because in Louisiana, when people go to Louisiana in a movie, they always make it seem like you got to ask an alligator directions when you're getting around the state.
It's not like that.
No, it's not. It's West Bank, New Orleans, so you do have to I don't know that you have to go through the swamp,
the bayou,
to get there. There are places like that, but they're further south in the state.
Listen, don't spoil this for me. I like this movie gimmick. It's like the deepest recesses of America.
Yeah.
And only one guy can get you there.
And with silk, and you got to get through that. And Coach
got to
Bell
climb a hill.
Can I ask one question about the recruiting? Visit with Bell, with Ricky Bell, or
Ricky
Rowe.
Yeah.
Ricky Rowe.
I have a lot of Ricky Rowe thoughts.
Was that race by his father? Was
the
it
First Baptist Church, Second Baptist Church?
Well, did I detect some racialisms?
Second Baptist Church more black? Was the inference?
Southern Baptist.
Southern Baptist.
Because I was like, I always thought that he was just, but then I watched it now with my race eyes. And I was like,
it's a good video gimmick. Race eyes.
I can find it in anything. Like race eyes.
Like infrared race
Van
goggles.
watches Bob Cousy make free throws with race eyes.
Race eyes.
They're trying to make Shaq look bad with this.
Yeah, exactly. So like, what was he being racist?
Like, I think that there were some undertones. I don't really know a lot about.
Say Indiana has like the greatest history with this.
The most KKK.
Jim Beaver really good though. Is Ricky Rowe's dad?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a whiff of something.
I fucked with Ricky Rowe the most though.
I like this game.
Ricky Rowe was cool. Just wanted girls and money, man.
Ricky Rowe, we lost him to an ACL. Think about what modern medicine could have done for Ricky Rowe.
He's on the tractor right now, wondering what happened.
Yeah. Wonder what happened.
That
Ricky
1 year
Rowe misses
Western.
his whole career, and Bede's still out there getting $35 million.
Ricky Rowe's probably in the Proud Boys right now.
Neon and Algiers.
Ricky Rowe. What's Ricky Rowe at Jan 6?
Ricky Rowe just got pardoned.
It was really easy to spot him. He was 6'6".
Ricky Rowe is now the Secretary of Defense.
He was the one shooting baskets on Pelosi's trash can.
He's totally rise there, but coach, $520, you get $400 for signing your name.
Yeah, but it's all lark for him.
I like all the Shaq scenes. I like when he brings the next one was when he brings Shaq to Mary McDonald's kindergarten class or first grade
Yeah,
class.
that's fun.
Can
A lot
he
of
play
fun.
with the kids?
How gigantic
Great
he
stuff.
is, how childlike he is. And the Shaq basketball scene in Algiers is just fantastic. He's playing in a basketball shack
In a barn.
in a
Yeah.
barn,
Yeah.
like
But somehow
with a big,
it's like
huge rim.
7 NBA players are
Yeah.
there. So there's I have a lot of questions about
The
that
size
pickup game.
on
They're
the
playing
court
like
is
5-on-5 half court and just exclusively throwing him alley-oops.
right.
Yeah.
He's
And then at one point he tries to block a shot and then gets the ball and then dunks it.
Yeah.
It's like, what are the rules here? We have no takeout at all?
Algiers rules.
Yeah.
yeah.
So how far is Algiers from New Orleans? I don't feel
Algiers
like you
is
gave
New
us
Orleans.
enough.
Algiers is New Orleans.
It's like Brockton. You know, it's
yeah,
like
Algiers
not that
is
hard
New
to
Orleans.
get to.
Algiers,
All right, so
Algiers is a neighborhood.
So the big lesson
area
is it's
in
not
New Orleans.
nearly as hard to get there as they made it
Yeah,
seem.
he
on the
makes
west
it-
bank of New Orleans, you take a ferry across the river to get there.
Okay.
My favorite thing about the recruiting trip for Neon is that for about 40 years, if you had a scene in New Orleans, you could either use Susie Q or Baby Please Don't Go.
Yeah.
And those were the only two songs you were allowed to
Yeah,
play.
that's-
If anybody,
that's such a good point.
It's like it's an
What
awesome
other,
song.
what other songs could have been used?
House of the Rising Sun.
House
Yeah.
of the Rising
Yeah.
Sun is
Yeah.
a good one. But at this point, they would have dropped like Bling Bling or some classic Cash Money, some Juvenile or some shit
Yeah.
like that to let you know you're in New
I was going to
Orleans.
do this later, but the lack of hip hop in this movie when it came out. And
You don't
all
think
the,
Billy Freakin was
all
rocking
the
to
I have
Illmatic
some
at the
missed
time? Yeah.
opportunities later, but it's
There's not a lot of hip hop and White Man Can't Jump though.
I'm just saying by 94
It has a
we had
little
some
bit more,
options.
though.
Has a
It's
little
more
bit more,
R&B.
We had
yeah.
but yeah.
options in
Yeah.
94.
We had options.
Next scene, JT Walsh lays it out for Pete Bell. You're a
Ball
better
one of
coach
these
when you're
boys.
pissed off.
Mhm.
My money is untraceable. CR, just you want to cook on this? I know you love Happy.
I mean, I love his like brazenness in this, and I love how like they position this character. He's not doing anything. He's like, everybody is a cheater. I'm just going to cheat better than everybody else. When he brings those girls up to him, and he's like 2 big Dolphins fans. But I have like I just feel like Happy essentially invents NIL collectives, right? Like he's
Oh,
like
yeah.
a precursor for that, and he's just like friends of the program.
We owe them this money.
Yeah.
We owe them this money.
Can we just give him the Ruffalo Hannah Rubeneck Partridge overacting award right now? And do we throw him into the category?
It's up there. I
don't understand. I mean, it's so good. He's just going for it, but it is an overacting
the
extravaganza.
only person competing with him is the assistant coach, who's just like
Freddie?
no, not Freddie. The
guy
guy who's
that-
like, Tony's my guy.
Oh, that
Tony
guy.
is my guy,
Shut
man.
up, Freddie. There's my favorite JT Walsh scene of all time
Yeah.
is in Outbreak.
Wow.
That's my favorite one, where he's talking to the people. He's only in it for the one time. He was like, was anyone, there was no other way. You're with the president. But this is, to me, the most JT Walsh of JT Walshiness that exists.
You wouldn't go breakdown?
Breakdown is, to me,
It's like a stripped down JT Walsh.
stripped down JT Walsh. This is the most JT Walshy that JT gets. Love JT Walsh.
Do you think in any of the scenes he should have dressed like Lieutenant Markinson?
I had that for later.
Okay, great. We owe them this money. We owe it to them. I like the montage when everyone gets paid off.
Yeah.
Butch's mom gets a job in a house.
Corner office.
Ricky gets a tractor. Ricky gets a gym bag with money. Neon gets a Lexus, but makes the point that he didn't ask for it.
Didn't ask for it.
We're playing some cool music.
Neon's the only pure soul in the movie.
Fun one. Next one, Butch is homesick. We talked about that earlier.
I like that scene.
Happy telling Pete, I own you.
Yeah.
I bought one of your boys, coach. I own you, Pete. You're mine. This is a minute after he says, I didn't break any rules. You did. And then he's like, by the way, I own you. I shave points. Pretty sure you.
So does Happy shave points, or is he just aware that Tony did shave
No,
points?
He said he bought
he's
one of his kids.
boys. Yeah.
So Happy's just like getting a little
What
greedy
is
there.
Yeah, so he's like
You're
a
a
booster,
booster,
but he's
yeah.
also shaving points.
Like Happy's
It's the worst
all
booster ever.
You know what?
deep into
For
the-
Happy, the action is the juice.
action is the juice.
He needs a little fucking taste of
I swear.
everything.
So we go right in the point shaving game, which is my favorite part of the movie. Western U versus State, 1991.
Yeah.
No signs at all that this game might have been shaved, as we see Tony just throw the ball to the other team over and over again and look at the clock to see how the time is going.
Jump
I don't know
for it.
how they.
Do you think this is a better point shaving scene or the one in
The Gambler?
Yeah.
the
I think it's
Gamblers.
the
probably.
Gambler's better.
Gambler's a little more.
So
But it
thought
is
out.
cool how like they use video footage to like to start to like look at how he let.
I
This
like
guy
seeing
go
the
by.
video
Yeah.
cassettes too.
So this is the best scene in the movie. I don't know if this is the most rewatchable scene in the movie, but this is the best scene in the movie.
You hate Freddie.
I hate
Dude,
Freddie.
Freddie's such a narc.
Well,
Freddie's
Freddie
an
wasn't there.
asshole.
He's just being
He's
a
like, I was
dick.
in Oklahoma. We did things the
Yeah.
right way in Oklahoma.
And the entire time, Freddie doesn't have any skin in the game here because he didn't recruit Tony. He's not hanging out with Tony.
It's like,
as
look
much.
at this kid. He's
But
just throwing it to
It's
the
the
team.
worst ball play. I bet the people in Vegas went crazy that night, and he's pissing this fucking guy off. They've just spent all of this time praising Tony, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds until it explodes. That's the best thing in the movie to me.
Tony was my guy, all
My
right?
guy,
My
all
guy.
right? It's my guy.
It's also
way,
funny
man.
now because
No way.
when you watch like Mind the Game and they're like, oh yeah, that was the third quarter of a February game against Toronto and I ran
Yeah.
a back screen. Like the assistant coaches are like, I think I remember this game. It's like it happened last year.
Yeah, right,
Like, what-
right.
like, don't-
And you won.
Like, were you writing a novel? Why don't you remember this?
He's a good kid, man. He's a good kid.
He is a good kid. He plays acoustic guitar, you know?
Yeah, it's in
And
there.
then Nick goes to go see him, Pete Bell. And we get the Kid Cudi Pursuit of Happiness award for best needle drop. All of a sudden, Hendrix and all on the
Yeah.
Watchtower. It's the one time the movie gets supercharged by a song.
And all those songs are so college.
Yeah.
It's also cool because like that's
Yeah.
the time when you realize like it feels more like a campus because he goes from the gym to the guy's housing over there, and it's like, oh yeah, you could just run across here 15
How do you feel
minutes.
about Pete's performance in this scene? Son, you took the purest thing in your life. You corrupted it for what? Like
He's talking
just-
about himself. I think that's the whole way we're
But
supposed
is
to write
he-
about it.
But then Tony stays on the team?
Yeah. He can't get rid of Tony. Tony's gonna go fucking tell everyone. I wish you would kick me off the team.
But that's a more interesting scene.
What do you mean? Oh, there was more interesting scene if
Like Tony going, am I off the team? And Pete's like, you see
he
the
can't
wheels
kick him off
turning.
the
Like,
team
I
because
can't.
he's more guilty than
Yeah,
Tony.
I know,
Yeah.
but I want to see that in the scene. Like Tony actually has leverage over Pete because
I think
he
the
did
year
this thing.
before, Pete would have kicked Tony off the team.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think that
He's
Pete,
in too deep.
yeah, he's frustrated that he kind of has to shut up and swallow this.
the big basketball scene I'm throwing in. I enjoy Bobby Knight yelling at the refs. I agree with your Bobby Hurley point. The last play is so terrible and out of
Yeah, it
of
sucks.
just what
Has
we're watching.
there ever been a game-winning alley-oop like that? I know like the NC
No.
State thing happened,
Mm.
but like
I watched this scene more for the nitpicks, and I can't believe the music sound choices with this. The music and the sound of this scene, it's such a fucking fuck up. The crowd sounds bad. I don't know what there's like this weird droning synthesizer scene. And I went back and I looked at all my favorite 1994 like hip hop rap songs. If you just put Holler If You Hear Me in here for 4 minutes, this scene's amazing.
yeah.
And instead it's like he's just got this weird droning synthesizer.
Or maybe
thing.
the Randy Newman, the natural score. As
Well,
as
do
Neon
that
goes
too.
in.
Or Short Shot by the Beasties was
Yeah.
the other one I was thinking. Like, you need like, this is fun. We're watching people play basketball. I need to like be tapping my leg as I'm watching it.
I think that they're going for high drama though. And so
I disagree with the choice.
yeah, I get it. Yeah. I mean, but you know,
Like Above the Rim was like, we know what we are. We're gonna have
Yeah,
a really
that
fun
was like-
basketball scene here, and there's gonna be good music.
but that was street ball. And
Yeah.
that's like supposed to have that raw energy or whatever. This is supposed to be like a more of a symphony of
I
basketball.
get it. Eh, I just didn't agree with it. And then Pete's final press conference would be the last scene.
I'm gonna go.
Ed does the SVP CR.
He invented it. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you,
Coach.
what is up with Neon's new Lexus?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it's not a car. This is a fine automobile. You know?
Yeah. Would have been a hell of a deal.
No, it's a nuclear surfboard.
You guys asked me to win, and I gave that to you. It's about money. It's the goddamn money. Happy does a great meltdown. I've become what I despise. I cheated my profession. I cheated myself. I cheated basketball. I quit.
This is kind of the basketball version of the now imagine she's white scene.
Oh, that time to kill.
Race eyes.
It's like where he gets like all the way to the end. He's like, I quit. You know?
What do you got for most rewatchable?
The press conference.
Oh,
The press conference is the most rewatchable, but the Tony scene is the one that I'm always so gleeful to watch whenever I see the movie.
I love the point shaving scene.
Yeah.
I love the point shaving scene and Bob Cousy hitting 10 straight free throws. Fucking man.
Also cool the way they shoot the point shaving is I think Nolte's in the back and they don't really,
Yeah.
it's not even him in focus. It's the two coaches up front and then Freddie talking shit.
Yeah.
It's just Freddie makes that scene. Freddie just like grading on the other coaches.
Freddie's just like, if I was here, I would have noticed this, by the way, the first time.
Look at that. Just throwing the ball to the other team. What's he doing? What's the most 1994 thing about this movie?
I have a good one for this.
What do you got?
It's the sportscaster guy who's like, it's time to tell Pete Bell to take a hike. Like early jungle room.
Yeah.
You know, like
early seats of
that
Rome.
guy's like, he's probably the actual sports like broadcaster for the local news. And they're like, you can have 22 minutes after the college games to do like your.
He's like Rob Fukuzaki.
Yeah. And he's like, okay.
I love Rob.
Yeah.
What's his name?
But it's early takesmanship. He's working on it.
And he also ruffles feathers when he interviews Pete Bell on the court.
Yeah.
And then Pete Bell curses him out. I don't mean to ruffle feathers, coach. Good luck in the second half. I like that guy.
Right now, that guy's out around the horn saying goodbye to everybody. Young Shaq and Young Penny, I'd put for 1994.
Skinny Shaq is definitely
That's the most 94 thing.
Yeah.
But I want to shout out VHS tapes and crappy TVs for coaching staffs. Just how like digitally now he'd be like, let's find that game, Bubba, press it up. It would be a plasma.
I was like, when Pete goes over to Jenny's house the first time after they lose to Patino, and he pours himself a glass of the good stuff and immediately goes to game tape. I was like, this is Bill. This is what Bill would love to do every night is go home, pour a glass of the good stuff, and watch a little bit
I can't believe you got bummed out by my around the horn joke.
No, it's great.
No, you got bummed out for a split second.
I'm just saying.
I didn't realize you were a big around the horn guy.
I haven't watched it in years.
2 points for you.
Mute.
What stage the best?
I got Tony flunking TV. Really like that. I always loved the classes that they would come up for college hoops. And Jerry Tarkanian saying Butch McRae couldn't make it at his school academically.
Right.
You know what's aged the best? It's weird. So this movie is supposed to be at UCLA, right? It's their colors.
I mean, it's technically
UCLA.
It's the gesturing towards it. Yeah,
right. It's actually UCLA that broke college sports.
O'Bannon.
Oh, the O'Bannon. Yeah.
Ed O'Bannon sued, and that lawsuit, made it all the way up to the Supreme Court, and then ushered in the NIL era.
Was Tyus Edney on the O'Bannon teams, or is that
he
later?
was.
I always enjoyed Tyus Edney.
Tyus
Cup
Edney
coffee
was
with
definitely
the
on there. He got hurt that
I
year.
have a
Kevin
one.
Collins.
What's age the best off of that? What's age the best?
Okay.
When sports movies
Kind of
had to use
Bobby
Western
Harley assist there.
Well, when they had to use like Western University,
Yeah.
big state, they had to use these fake college names. There's 2 Western universities because the other one is in one-on-one with Robbie Benson.
Oh yeah,
Same thing. And I think they might even have the same colors.
What is Western Texas is Patino's team? No, he's Texas. What does he coach?
It was like Texas Western or Western Texas
Western, I think.
That used to be a real,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
I really like some of the music in this movie with the
It's them.
like
It's Van Morrison. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. The Ricky Rose outdoor hoop, I wanted to shout out when the thing
little
underneath
rebounding
it
thing.
that
Ball
rolls
return,
back.
yeah.
Just nice little touch. The phrase "friends of the program" that's become a big
Yeah.
podcast phrase
Yeah.
all over the place. I don't know if it started with this movie, but I noticed that. I like whether it bends the rules or not. Doesn't bother me nothing because it ain't my rules. Thought was a good quote. Using brooms as fake shot blockers, Van.
Loved it.
Mhm.
Loved
Always. I just thought a lot of the touches with the coach and the players was really high level.
All
the
of
way
that
they were
stuff
doing
really
it. I
worked.
really
Like,
like that part.
It's also like it feels very real when obviously because they were actually playing games that they were just filming, but Patino and Knight coaching felt very real. Like it felt like they were giving like actual instructions.
And the coaching stuff in the movie is actually, they didn't really lean into it that much, but the coaching stuff is actually really good because they were coaching against each other, and it was like, don't guard this guy, don't guard that guy, and then you hear the other guy trying to adjust off of that. It was like a little deeper look into like the scheme and strategy of the game.
Yeah, it was good basketball nerd kind of stuff.
Even down to like when when Pete's like, I'll go into the Indiana locker room and give Bob Knight our game plan because it doesn't matter. I was like, fuck yeah.
Rick Pitino in the closing credits of this movie is Richard Pitino. I just wanted to shout that out.
Do you think he was thinking, maybe I'll move
Maybe
into
this is
acting?
it.
I'll go as
IMDb,
Richard. Honestly, like kind of awesome in this movie.
Yeah. I have him and Larry Bird and Bob Cousy all being awesome in a sports movie is a would say the best. There's a locker room sign in the People locker room that says, "What you see here, what you hear here, let it stay here when you live here." That I just want to flag for later for the memorable thing. Here's my number one though. I almost feel like this should be a new category because we had this last week with Nicole Kidman asking if she should study neurosurgery for her Days of Thunder. And Jerry's like, Nicole, we're good. Just show up and get your scenes on time and don't wear heels because you're already taller than Tom. This research, Nick Nolte wrote a 200-page novel about Pete Bell to tap into his character's psyche.
It's all right, man.
And gave it to Friedkin, and Friedkin's like, yeah, it was okay.
You got to get the green light before you write the 200-page novel.
So is this a new Rewatchables award? Maybe it's conditional. The Nick Nolte's 200-page Pete Bell novel award for most ridiculous commitment to a movie?
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking insane.
Yeah.
He wrote a 200-page novel about Pete Bell?
Can we get it, though? Would you
On
put it
eBay?
out on Ringer Books?
I imagine it's not good.
It might be awesome. Freaking just might have had too much on his plate.
What's better, that or Nicole Kidman wanting to take some neurosurgery classes for Days of Thunder?
The response to Nicole Kidman, her being like, I really want to get into like.
So maybe that's the category. Yeah. Craig, what should that category be? Nick Nolte or Nicole Kidman?
Why can't we do both? It's like overacting. Let's just start compiling.
All right.
Both of them.
I'm going to mark that one down. What'd you have for Great Shot Gordo, CR?
Just the push-in shot when Pete's giving his confession at the press conference, and it kind of goes over all of the audience.
I think the neon basketball scene for some reason in Algiers is just like
deep recesses of America.
The deep recesses of Black America, where they play aggressive life or death basketball.
Watch out for those alligators. You get eaten. Just go into this game.
And they play at a specific time because Silk and Pete get there just as they're playing.
Yeah.
So they know what time they got to get there, what time the Lions are out.
Den of Thieves Benihana Award for scene steal and location is either there, but I really like Butch's gym in Chicago. I thought
that was great.
Those gyms with where you could run laps around the top. They had a few of those in Boston. They have some in LA.
They have like
those.
courts where they have dead spots.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you can't shoot from the left elbow. That one's
right.
a dead spot.
To your point, that basketball actually looks good because they're shooting it like they're watching it from above.
Yeah.
No, that's the best basketball scene in the movie, probably.
Right. And you can watch Butch get busy. And you can see, and man, I gotta say something else about this movie that really ages well to me. It's just like how fucking awesome these guys were, man.
Oh my God.
In their youth. Just watching.
It's a great What's Age the Best.
Everything that
pre-knee surgery
could do,
Penny.
like a young,
I thought the same thing.
Ridiculously dynamic Penny Hardaway, who was that far above the rim, who could handle the ball like that, who was that smooth. I mean, people don't remember him now, but fuck, man.
We remember him. I honestly feel like he was a 1-on-1. I haven't seen a tall point guard like that.
Who could really play the game.
Who was so athletic.
Score. Yeah.
He was like basically a 6'8" shooting guard who was a point guard.
Yeah.
I don't even know who that is now.
And unselfish.
Was Penny the first Prop 48? Wasn't there didn't he have like a big Sports Illustrated cover about, it was like Prop 48 and it was like how he was going to go to Memphis? Yeah, I can't remember. There was definitely an SI cover with Penny when he was at Memphis.
I mean, he was first team All-NBA in 95. He was like 21 years old. This was somebody that... It's basically like whatever John Moran is 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Or Edwards last year. They made the finals in 95.
I don't want to jump on Prestige sequel prequel, but sequel with Penny coaching because he's coaching Memphis now.
Oh, Butch McRae?
Butch coaching now?
We are of the same brain. That's
it would
the
be
sequel
awesome.
to the movie.
It's not bad.
Butch's boys, you know?
The Chess Rockwell and Brock Landers Award for Best Character Name, which is turning into my favorite category.
Neon Bordeaux.
Can I just make a case for Butch McRae?
Sure.
Butch McRae, just a great name, could be really anything. Could be like the bad guy in American Gangster. Could be the lead cop in a movie.
Yeah.
Could be like a musician. I don't, there's just a lot to play with
What
that.
year was this movie written?
90.
Well, it was written in the 80s.
Well, in the 80s.
That character was white.
Butch McRae.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And when the movie, almost certainly, when the movie got made or like whatever,
They need to urban it up a little.
they urbaned it up. They want to bring Penny into it. Then they added the scene with Louis Gossett Jr. addressing the fact that his name is so white sounding. That character was white.
in general, Butch, great name.
Butch.
Great sports name over the years. And then Ricky Rowe, I think, is solid too. But yeah, Neon Boudreaux is the classic. Let's take one more break, then we're coming back with CR's flex. All right, CR, what do you got?
I'll go Vincent Chase here, and I'm just gonna say, despite the 2 natties, are we sure Pete Bell was a good coach? As a recruiter, what is the shit with the lamp and the chair and the grandma in Butch's room? Like, does anybody get sold by that? Like, oh wow, what an offensive mastermind!
Yeah,
maneuvered 2 toddlers and an 80-year-old woman with a cigarette. So he's drawing up that bullshit. It's pretty obvious Ricky is gonna want the bag. He tells him in the first place, and then he asks so indignified by it, like he's just so furious about it. And then finally, like it seems like his big wrinkle as a coach, once the team is put together, his game plan is to throw 2 guys at Calbert Cheney. And it's just like, all right, well. Maybe your time had passed as a basketball scholar.
Also, maybe Penny Hardaway should have been in the 1-4.
Yeah. Well, if you
Spread
adjust
the
to the
floor
talent,
for that fucking guy.
Adjust to the talent. He's unhappy. He's out here. His mom wants to keep the house and job. Maybe change your office.
This is why Coach Bud is in shambles right now. He's trying to run this corner, Yeah,
dude, if you watch Penny Hardaway at that age for 5 minutes, you'd be like, I'll run whatever fucking offense you want, dude. What do you want to do,
bro?
The offense is you throw alley-oops to Neon. How about that?
How about we'll set you some picks and just go to the basket?
I have a feeling that Pete Bell got a little Tibbs in him.
He was
telling
a
Mikal
defensive-minded
Bridges
coach.
to stand in the corner.
Just got a little my way or the highway. You playing 90 minutes a game type situation.
Yeah, but the thing is that Patino calls him out in the first game where he's just like, these guys aren't in good shape.
Yeah, they're not.
So it's like, if you're not in good shape and you don't like to have sophisticated offense, what are you doing?
The way they had it, they made it seem like he had the same credentials as Bobby Knight did. Like he'd won multiple national championships.
Which is another reason why I have this later in nitpicks. We can get to it then. But if you've got 2 national championships, you having 1 losing season is not going to make people.
I think he's had a couple that were like not good though. I think the whole Tony era has not been that good.
Right. But like it's college.
Tony was shaving points.
It's college, right? So like you watch Indiana go up and down for like a decade. If Bobby Knight's brought you 2 national championships, I'm just saying, like normally that guy's job is not going to really be in that much jeopardy.
2025 blue chips, Tony's just betting the under on his player props.
I was going to make that joke, but I wasn't sure if it was appropriate.
Under 2.5 rebounds. The Butch's Girlfriend award for weak link of the film. It's clearly the point shaving subplot and the coaches having no idea when we watch the video and the guy has 25 turnovers. And then there's been rumors about it for the 3 years since. Like they're all blindsided.
You think the Raptors staff had that meeting about Jonte? Not Jonte. He's
No
a good
way.
kid.
He's my guy.
Jonte's not in Discords talking about his own unders.
And then Happy being a huge booster and supporter of the program, but then also buying one of the kids for a point shaving thing. It's a bridge too far. What's age the worst? In the opening credits, it says Penny Hardaway, but there's quotation marks for the penny.
Yeah.
I just don't like it.
We didn't know him. To your point, we didn't know him.
Just go Anthony Penny Hardaway then.
Or if you're going to do that, do it for everybody. Have Richard Pitino. You know?
Yeah, it's just,
Right.
I didn't like that. I mean, I'll go and then you guys can take some. Nobody would know who Neon was. This is an era where we actually had a college top 100 infrastructure was into place.
Like
and it really like the Fab Five is like from that moment on, they had the camps. This is when they're making
They give you
dreams.
so much exposition as to why you're not supposed to know.
Yeah, because he was in the military.
Because he grew
JUCO.
late. He went to a JUCO.
They said he was in Desert Storm. Is Neon like 25?
He's
like,
got to be at least 26 years old. At least. He's got to be for everything that they said, because he went to a junior college. And then he went to the Army, and he's got to be at least 26 years old, at least.
It seems like he's pretty well versed in the Green Knight. It's like, that's culturally biased.
Right.
Like,
and then off of that, like, wouldn't Sports Illustrated be crawling around this team? Like, what happened here? He got Butch McRae. He's got some 26-year-old
but isn't that
dude
literally
from
what
Algiers.
happened with Michigan, where it's just like, how did these guys all decide to go to the same
same
would
school
think-
at the same time?
College basketball was huge back then. Neon coming out of nowhere as a 25-year-old. Like, I just feel like that would have been a major
There was
story.
nothing more exciting than like a cool freshman class going to a school at the same time. Like, I think people would have been like, awesome, Pete got his shit together.
Right.
What do you have for what's age worst?
I think starting your press conference referencing 900 million Chinamen, probably not the best move.
That was, they were, some coach did that
Did
though.
he?
Yeah, that was based on
But
something.
I have that too. But you know what aged the worst about that to me? is the Chinese not caring about basketball.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a
good one.
great point.
You took off your race eyes.
Put the hoop size back on.
The Chinese not caring about basketball aged super poorly when he's trying to make that point.
Neon's joke to Jenny and Pete when he's like, "I see why you left the bitch." I think that probably would have landed off a little bit.
they would have cut that one. I loved it though. I thought it was so funny.
What is he talking to? How is he talking to her like that?
And finally, Nick Nolte getting the John Belushi White Guy Dancing in Baptist Church Award for dancing in Baptist
Let's get a
Church.
word. I'll add that to the list. Anything, Van?
That was mine. Okay. Made was the Chinese like not caring about basketball. It's just that's
my other biggest ones. Butch not being able to run the motion offense is just absurd. Mary McDonnell, we didn't talk about her. She's coming off Dances with Wolves. Everyone was in love with her from that movie. Yeah. She's 41 when they make this movie. They give her a hairdo like she's like the person on the right in the view. She looks like a hairdo of like a 59-year-old. They dress her. They dress her like a. Hold on, I'm not done.
They dress her.
Go for it.
They dress her like a grandmother.
Well, she's a second grade teacher or whatever.
Yeah, she's
41 and divorced. She's not. Mary McDonnell can't get some. Like her only hope is Pete Bell coming over after a couple drinks.
Are you saying that she's undesirable in the movie?
I'm saying they made her look undesirable, and I don't appreciate it.
I don't
think
appreciate
she was cute
it either.
I think she would have been feeling herself a little bit. She's a divorced lady. She's not dressing like she's like your Aunt Stella.
Do you think she just loves the game? Do you think she just loves hoops and wants to be a part of the program still? Like the purity of basketball.
Well, she's presented as the moral compass of the movie.
It seems like Josiah's dad was trying to hit
Marquez Johnson.
It seems like he was trying to, when he was talking about
getting
the drinks and the wings, he seemed like he was kind of putting it down a little bit. Maybe he was trying to snake old Pete Bell right there. So we're going to get some wings later. We're going to get
I wonder if that was like a little subplot.
Little subplot.
Got taken out.
You know what? I'm not going to have that drink, actually.
I'm not going to. Yeah, she was a woman.
The only other thing I was going to say is what changed the worst is just the shame people feel because people don't feel it anymore. They would have just denied and denied and denied. Like at this point, like Pete Bell having like a crisis of like his morality and everybody feeling bad that this thing had happened and like nobody does that anymore. They're just like, I'm just gonna just say I didn't do it.
I mentioned Bob Cousy as Vic. I just would have called him like Bob Cruzy. Bob Luzy. I don't know.
What about Le Bob Cousy? Since he's French.
What's age the worst? It's God bless Dickie V, but the Dickie V scene's 40 seconds too long. It's like, we get it. Dickie V's at the game. It's just gone. He's baby. He's listing all the players.
You would have
like,
wanted
I would have cut that.
Or Packer?
I would have cut that.
Dickie V was such a fucking huge star.
I get it. I would have cut it. Pete Bell's coaching style of just screaming at everyone and having no basketball technicianship at all.
Yeah.
And also like yelling at people he's trying to recruit. And I just didn't really understand.
Do you think Freddie is the actual brains behind the operation?
Yeah, Freddie's probably the one.
They got him from Oklahoma to install the 1-4.
You know, I really wanted you to be my wingman for the Mary McDonnell part. And so look, you know what? You just fucking abandoned me.
So
they dressed her like a 70-year-old. I needed your help, and instead you just sided with Ciara.
Can I be honest with you?
I didn't do anything.
She still looks hot to me though.
Yeah,
like, I still think she, especially the part where she goes, "You want to play a little one-on-one?" I'm like, you don't want to play a little one-on-one.
You're mad at me today because I made fun of Cousy earlier.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't appreciate that at all. Divorce lady? I don't know. I just feel like she'd be breaking it out a little bit more.
Okay. What's the hottest she's looked in the movie to you? Was it Dances with Wolves?
Dances with Wolves looks great.
What the fuck are you
good in
talking
that movie?
about?
She won the Oscar.
She's good in it, but she's good. Craig, you got to put Dances with Wolves. She's like, it's very earthy. I didn't know you were into the whole.
I just think she's good in that movie.
She's a beautiful woman.
She's gorgeous.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Right, and she looks good in the movie though. I think she looks good. They
dress her like a fucking grandmother.
You want her to dress like Roxy from Basic Instinct?
Like somebody who's a divorce lady.
Yeah.
Put
a blouse on and a pair of jeans.
Okay, like she's out there still trying to.
I don't know.
Like market that thing.
Fine.
Yeah.
Whatever. So Pete calls Happy to see if Butch can keep his stuff.
Yeah.
Which is a very cool scene on paper. It's
because
fun
now
to watch.
he works for Happy.
It shows that he's powerless that Happy's calling the
Yeah.
shots.
Do they
to this
do
degree?
I have this in a What's Age the Worst. Do they do too much to make us just not like Pete? Pete is not a hero in this movie. He's
But that's the
by
whole
the end
point
of
of
it,
the
not
movie.
likable.
Yeah.
But I
this-
think that's why we have such a complicated relationship with
Yeah.
this movie. Because it's like, I don't even think I really like Pete.
Well, I think that what you're supposed to get from Pete is a sense of helplessness to the changing landscape of college basketball. And that scene where he has to humble himself in front of Happy and call Happy about one of his guys is supposed to reiterate the fact that he's completely, his hands are off the steering
It's
wheel.
actually a run.
Great. You're a spineless loser. Why am I rooting for you in the final game?
It's kind of like when Bobby Knight was winning, his antics were like unique and charismatic. And when he was losing, he was a brute and a bully. It's a context thing where it's like as soon as Pete starts losing, it's like, oh, look at like this look at this guy. He can't keep control of his temper at all.
Last What's Age the Worst for me, Ricky Rowe. Just asked for $50K in the tractor. What's $30K? It's a fucking major
adjusted
program.
for
They've won
inflation.
3 titles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought my number starts with a 5.
The 30K is a weird number. to me.
30K?
Yeah, 30K is a weird
Come
number. to
on.
me.
Maybe that's like what his dad needed to pay off the bill on his like farm or something.
You're in
Big
50,
combines are moving
I'm in
you know?
50s, hundreds at this point. It's like I go for
Man.
50K, 75K, or 100.
Ricky
30K
is
come
taking
on.
that 30K straight to Heidi Fleiss.
Oh, definitely.
I know. I know.
We're gonna get to that. It's that would be $63,000 today. It's not a lot.
Ricky should have spent some of that 30K in a blouse for Nick Nolte's ex-wife.
Oh, Ricky could probably hit that. Ricky could get in there.
She's got her pair of jeans.
Yeah.
What's your flex category choice, man?
What is the best? I made up a new one. What's the best possible starting 5 you could create from
This
the
is from
actual
this fucking
cameos?
awesome.
Oh, I like
that
this.
are
A fantasy GM.
a fantasy GM. The best possible starting 5 you could create from the actual basketball players
So
that are
wait,
in this movie.
what they actually wound up doing in basketball, or
No,
just
no, no,
within
no, no, no.
the reality of the film?
No. Not the reality of the film, but the guys that are in this movie. What's the best?
Do we get to use Shaq and Penny?
I mean, I'd do Shaq Penny, Bobby Hurley, Calbert Cheney, I think.
So
Allen
Bobby
Houston?
No,
So-
I think it's Penny, Allen Houston, Shaq are 3 of the 5 have
Okay.
to be.
Penny, Allen Houston, Shaq, and then
Probably Calbert Cheney
do you
because he
run-
was really good in college.
you run Penny at the 2 and put Bobby Hurley at
You're
the
gonna
1.
I
go
think-
pre-car accident. Bobby Hurley was fucking awesome.
I know, but I want Penny to have the ball.
So then you put Penny at the 1. Bobby Hurley doesn't make it.
Plus, Penny can't play in the motion offense.
Yeah, playing the 1 forward. So then do you put? Because Ricky Rowe was a real player too. What's his name?
Matt
know,
Nover. He wasn't
Matt
that
Nover.
Honestly,
Yeah.
George Lynch was really
Oh,
good in
yeah,
college.
George Lynch.
Super-
2001
Probably George
Sixers,
Lynch,
yeah.
Super
Houston,
dope.
Penny, Shaq, and Cal Chaney. And you just have the 1 center, you have the 3, and you just have athletic, long athletes.
That's
everywhere.
that's
a
like
pretty
a Final Four
awesome team.
Yeah. So there's no real power forward.
Hurley is 6 man.
Huh?
Hurley is 6
Hurley
man.
is
You don't
6
need a
man.
power forward with Shaq.
Shaq. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind Ricky Rowe off the bench though.
Just to stretch things out.
Sure,
Yeah.
but
Because
I don't
you don't
know.
have much shooting. If you don't have Bobby Hurley, you don't have much shooting in that.
I don't
team.
think
Yeah.
Ricky's a great locker room guy because he's trying to fuck everybody's girlfriend.
Yeah, that is true. The CR thinks Luke Wilson could have been Harrison Ford hottest takeover. I think we're all lingering the same way. Blue Chips 2 should have happened. I don't know what part of the Butch McRae neon experience it should have happened, whether it should have been like a late 90s or like what we were talking about where Penny's Butch is a coach in the late 2000s. But Blue Chips 2, you have my interest.
Do you think Blue Chips 2 now would be these guys have an ex-player pod?
That'd be amazing. What a great idea. It's them, it's Neon, it's Butch, and Tommy Alter as Tony Amaker.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
It's the 3 of them.
My hottest take is based on Ricky Rowe.
Yeah.
I think he's probably like just a stick man, but the way he kind of instantly brings up girls and is always talking about girls, I feel like if it keeps going on, that's the kind of guy who finds himself in Bangkok talking about wanting to be the girl who's fucking him. Like if you can't ever satiate that,
Yeah.
and then he blows his knee out, it's just like he just keeps plumbing the depths until he finds himself drinking chamomile tea in
Butch
Bangkok.
McRae's like,
But it's Butch on the other side.
Butch
They're
McRae just,
at their team reunion.
Oh, sometimes I want to be the girl fucking me, and I'm the guy fucking like me.
sometimes I get an Indiana girl to watch.
Oh, shit. My
That's
God.
great. He was so horny in this movie. You have a hottest takes, Van?
No.
Okay. Casting what ifs. I don't really have any other than
Oh, I do have a hot take. I'm sorry.
Okay.
This movie is a good movie directed by Friedkin. It's an all-time great movie to me if Sheldon directs it. It's an all-time. It's like he knew what tone that he wanted to go through. He knew the way he wanted to tell the story.
And he makes it more fun.
He makes it more fun. There's a glitch in the movie, a small kernel of self-righteousness that doesn't really work and kind of drags the movie down a little bit. So I think if Sheldon directs the movie, it's one of the great basketball films.
Piggybacking off that, what do you think if this is the third of the Shelton Costner sports trilogy?
Oh,
interesting. Different coaching style. I don't think
Yeah.
he's as much of a yeller.
Yeah.
He probably adopts more of like a Jim Boeheim.
But you
kind
could
of
see
torture
Costner
thing.
like being like, I run a clean program, and then like getting corrupted by somebody.
Yeah, that's good. Maybe he has a little no way out energy. Like the people are coming to get him.
Little
He's frantic.
edgier.
Yeah.
We could have gotten Hackman to play Happy. Yeah.
I'll tell you this.
Hackman is happy.
If Costner's in this movie, Mary McDonald's dressing a little
like that.
Yeah, she's
Running
she's
back.
She's getting a little more spark every time Costner's coming over.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, coach, wanna have
okay.
a drink? Casting what ifs, nothing except for Friedkin wanted Nick Nolte only for Pete Bell. And Nick Nolte had wanted to work with Friedkin since the 1970s.
Yeah.
When he didn't get a Chris Ryan favorite, Sorcerer.
Yeah.
Danny McBride Award for playing yourself. We don't necessarily get to give this out that much.
Richard Pitino.
It could be Richard Pitino. It could be Bobby Knight.
Tark was good.
It could be Tark. Who would you give it to?
Pitino.
Okay, I agree. Best that guy award, JT Walsh. We're moving on. Even though he's not a that guy anymore. Well, Craig just gave a whole monologue a couple episodes ago about how
we overrate
that
celebrity
guy.
of guys.
His generation doesn't
I would
know
say
JT
Marcus
Walsh
Johnson
is.
probably.
Marcus Johnson too. But what about Silk
that's
Koza?
tough. He has like multiple All NBAs.
But JT Walsh is like one of the great actors of.
I
JT
know,
Walsh
but
is
I'm
not a
just
bad
trying
guy.
to cater to Craig's generation.
What about Silk Koza
Oh yeah, as Slick.
as Slick?
Yeah, the guy who brings him to.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
Who
a good
brings
one.
him to like he's also in White Man
What
Can't
about
Jump.
your guy, Anthony C. Hall?
Anthony C. Hall is another one. Like
The assistant. No, the real answer is the assistant who's like, not Tony. That's my guy.
Oh yeah.
That's one of those guys. I don't even know what that guy's name is.
I don't know.
But he's one of those
I don't know
guys.
that I've seen him in anything else. What else has he been in?
Or maybe I've just seen him in this.
Yeah.
Deion Waiters Award. Incredible candidates for this. Happy's Two Blondes. JT Walsh. Lou Gossett.
JT
Larry
Walsh is
Bird,
in
and
too
Bob
much.
Cousy.
Larry Bird and got Bob Cousy. No thought that it could be Shaq.
You know?
No, he's in it too much.
Nothing for Alfred.
Alfred too.
Oh, I guess she's qualified. You're right. She's in multiple
One-
scenes, but yeah,
She's
makes
in
it.
2 scenes, and she
Yeah.
has like one of the best lines in the movie.
Okay.
Or
I think it's Lou Gossett. As much as I love Cousy, but I think Cousy's in it too much.
yeah, if Shaq's in it too much, Cousy's in it too much. Cousy's in like 4 or 5
Gossett
scenes.
comes in hot. He's great. He's basically like the officer and a gentleman guy, and he's out in 3 minutes. Recasting couch director City. I
Does it
would like
feel-
to like Pete Bell. I would like to talk this one out a little bit more.
Well,
Whether Nolte was the right guy. He's too close to Bobby Knight and Jack Cates. Like I almost can't separate it.
Well, that's what he's doing. He's going for the quintessential college basketball. I think the image of the college basketball coach, even though Hurley's brother at UConn is kind of flipping
Dan
it back to
Hurley,
that,
yeah.
Dan Hurley. I think the image of the college basketball coach has kind of changed.
Yeah.
But at that time, remember, this was, what's your man from Temple?
John Chaney.
John Chaney. So this was John Chaney and all the rest of these guys, these really overbearing personalities. And, Bob Knight, I think he was trying to get into that.
I think
The
that
Costner thing intrigued me.
Nick Nolte is the perfect actor for this version of Pete Bell. If you want Pete Bell to be, you could talk me into like, this is where Norman Dale goes, and it's Hackman playing this, and he's always had like control over the program, and then he
Hackman.
loses it. You could talk me into a Pacino kind of playing a Patino Calipari type.
Pacino hams it up too much.
Yeah.
He goes crazy.
But I think that Nick Nolte is perfect for this version of Pete Bell, but Nick Nolte is the reason why people are like, Blue Chips is okay.
Could Lou Gossett play Pete Bell?
Interesting.
Yeah. Do you go black coach there, or have we not?
Yeah.
Or do we have to wait till after the Million Man March to make that happen? Like
No, we had some big ass black coaches in the
Yeah, John
90s.
Thompson.
I don't
Like,
think it would have.
yeah.
I just think they wanted him to be Bobby Knight, and they
Yeah.
decided Nick Nolte was Nick Nolte was closest to Bobby Knight.
Do you think this movie works as an LA movie? Like, it's cool. Like when he's like,
Not
and
at
the,
all.
And,
Shit,
the, and
no.
the weather couldn't be better. You know?
No,
like,
I almost feel like it should have been at like an SMU type school and put in like Texas. something
Yeah.
like that.
They were talking
and Happy's like an
specifically-
oil guy. Yeah.
they were talking specifically about, which is another thing that kind of, aged a little poorly, specifically about the rise of Big East basketball and how all the television had moved over there. But that's
Gosh,
really,
yeah.
that kind of aged pretty poorly too. But that's really the only thing that's regional about the movie. Like it's not California culture. There's like nothing that goes on. They don't lean into it.
They're playing a lot of non-conference games, you know?
Right.
Can I give you one more recasting
Mhm.
just from the era? Because it's Shaq and Penny, right? Third star has to be white because it's Indiana. Could this have been Leitner?
It could have been.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
If
for
you're
sure.
really trying to capture this era and you get Shaq, Penny, and Christian Leitner as Ricky Rowe, it's a more interesting movie.
I'll be honest with you. I bet Shaq wasn't fucking with that.
Yeah, Shaq's like, he's out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
bet Shaq
Get
wasn't
that kid
fucking
from
with
Indiana instead.
That. Yeah.
Craig's up with the flex category. What do you got, Craig?
I'm going to tweak the art imitating real life, and it's just Pete Bell berating his team at halftime was an exact reenactment of the SDSU head coach after they were down at halftime to UNC.
We should mention we're taping this
the
on a
Aztecs.
Friday,
Yeah.
and we're taping in the morning because Craig's like San Diego State. We might be playing on Friday if we win the play-in. It's going to probably be late. I think it's at 1:00, and then Tuesday. Would they lose by 25?
27, but they were down like 38 at one point. It was
Yeah.
bad.
Get
So
them next
Craig
year.
cost
Yeah.
San Diego State the thing. Half-ass. It's your fault. Half-ass internet research. Shaquille O'Neal nominated for a Razzie Award for Worst New
Yeah.
Star. That hurt my feelings.
I don't-
Shaq's good in this
That
movie.
seems inappropriate.
They
Ridiculous.
were just being assholes.
Friedkin says, well after they made the movie, it was weak at the box office. It's hard to capture in a sports film the excitement of a real game with its own unpredictable dramatic structure and suspense. I couldn't overcome that. Completely disagree. Sour Grapes. Make a better movie.
Mhm.
Lots of sports movies has worked. Fuck you.
Bill, you are all one today, bro.
And it's morning rewatchables.
Yeah.
I'm always more heated. Apparently Friedkin didn't want Shaq to be too tall, so he had like shoes that had like tiny 1/4-inch soles.
It's probably like a framing
and then
thing.
boosts for other people
Oh,
because
yeah,
he was
yeah,
like too much taller than everybody else. And
Yeah, there's that funny scene where he's just like at 6'6", and Penny's like, I'm not 6'6", and
Yeah.
Shaq's like, I am 7'4".
Right.
But if you look at that one scene where it's Shaq, Nick Nolte, and Mary McDonald, if you look at the way that they
they have
shot
to
that,
frame it.
they
Yeah.
have to frame it in the right way
Yeah.
to like have him a little far. He's standing so far away from them because
Yeah.
if not, it looks.
Shaq's final college game came against Indiana and Bobby Knight and Matt Nover. Indy beat LSU by 10 in round 2 of the tournament and eventually went to the Final Four and lost to Duke and Coach K. That was Bobby Knight's last Final Four.
Love Dale Brown. We had some real studs come through and we couldn't get to the Final Four, man.
Dale Brown, not opposed to maybe sliding something under somebody's door that had some dollar bills in it.
Dale was with it. Dale, he had a.
Dale might have thrown a
Yeah.
pair of car keys at somebody.
That's a good example of when Chris Jackson went to LSU. I was like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
I mean, Shaq, he got in on Shaq early.
Was Chris Jackson was from the Northeast, right?
He's from Mississippi.
Oh, he's from Mississippi.
Yeah.
He was like an all-time
Like
scoring
fucking
prodigy.
ridiculous. Yeah.
The gym that they used for Butch McRae in Chicago was Mount Carmel High School. And then I like this. The crew, including Shaq, stayed at the Howard Johnsons in Lafayette, Indiana for 2 weeks. Remember the Howard Johnsons? All right, we're gonna try it again.
Oh, great.
We're gonna go for if this has not worked yet. We're gonna call Rosillo, and we're gonna see if this works.
He's going to pick up now because I called him out for his low answer percentage.
Unbelievable.
It didn't even ring. It felt like.
He's got you on like straight to voicemail.
He does.
Call Rosillo again. He might be on Do Not Disturb. A second one might go through.
That's not weird at all.
You think that's possible?
If there was no ring, he's probably on Do Not Disturb.
He's probably do not disturb because I'm lifting.
Grinding tape.
Oh, a ring for Rosillo.
Yeah.
Yes! Finally!
We're doing rewatchables. You finally picked up.
What is that?
I'm with Van and CR, and we're doing blue chips, and we need your take on blue chips without any prep at all.
The white guy knew exactly what he needed. Like he was so I remember being like, this guy had a plan. Like he was the most ruthless about the ask. And Nolte was just like, that's when Nolte gave up on life. I saw it at the theater. I remember I like walked down from campus, or actually one of our rich kids had a car as a freshman, which you weren't supposed to do. But rich kids always figure out a way to stay ahead. And we went to the theater. I'll just never forget, like, because the funny thing was that like Shaq got it. Of all the people, Shaq understood what it was really about. And Nolte was just shattered when fucking French Lick wanted all sorts of benefits.
All right, that's it. Great cameo, Rosillo. Great to talk to you.
Yeah, when's this post? I'm going to send it to my friends.
Monday. Bye.
And the hang up. That's great.
All right.
Oh
what a
my
category.
God.
Love that.
Completely redeemed the idea.
Yeah.
You know?
We knew it had high potential.
Yeah.
Was that the first successful execution of it?
Well, producer Craig, call again. Maybe the second time we'll go through.
That tells me something about Craig, by the way.
Apex
Keep
Mountain.
calling over and over.
Never give up.
DM them over and over.
Apex Mountain. Nick Nolte, no. Cheating in a basketball movie?
What else you got?
No, because like the white man can't jump like when he's not cheating, but he's like they're
He's
hustling.
throwing
that
he's-
counts.
He's
Yeah.
hustling the game above the rim. Like him playing terrible in the last game until he gets called out because Birdie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually.
Yeah.
Mary McDonald, no.
No.
Bob Knight, no.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Alfred team coming right off Season on the Brink. They win the title.
Yeah, Keith Smart shot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
87.
Yeah.
Flunking TV in college.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Not done again until 1996 when I did it.
Rick Fox
Very brief.
in a really
Very
nice
brief.
run here of this, then Eddie, and then He Got Game.
He got game.
And Oz.
Oz. He was making a way as a really serious actor. And
Who do I need to fucking hear to get high? I can't never forget Rick Fox saying that on Oz. You remember?
Oz
Oz was a-
crazy shit.
Did we just what? That's when everyone will know I'm about to retire.
Yeah.
When we do the one
Last
for us
9 months
Oz
of your
rewatch.
deal, we just do
Yeah.
the Oz rewatch.
Oz, 4
Fuck.
seasons of Oz.
the Adabisi scene.
It's like, oh, this is it. Bill's done. Point shaving movie scenes. You're still going Gambler.
Yeah, I think it. Also, it's just so crazy because, like, you know, he's got the tennis pro or the tennis kid betting on the game for him.
Yeah.
It's- yeah.
Shaq and Penny, no.
Oh wait, what are we talking about?
Shaq as an actor?
Were you saying sports betting scenes? I was gonna say,
Point shaving in a basketball game
what about
scenes.
okay?
because I was gonna say Uncut Gems is like my favorite.
Uncut
sports
Gems is
betting.
one
But
too.
it's not point shaving.
Yeah.
though.
If we're just talking about taking a dive in a sports movie, what
That's
about
Longest Yard.
Yeah.
but what about the end of Color of Money though?
Oh,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
That's a fucking crushing one.
So Shaq and Penny, no. But Shaq as an actor.
Shaq as an actor,
I think 100% yes.
yeah, I don't think that this is the best Shaq.
I think
has ever
Shaq
been
would
as an
admit that.
actor. Yeah,
Bob Cousy is an actor, 100%. Richard Pitino as an actor, definitely.
Bob Cousy has it.
Algiers. Algiers is the hardest location to get to in America.
Yeah. For
Definitely.
sure. Yeah,
The most. It's like Burning Man.
Yeah. That's it, unless you have any other Apex.
College basketball movies.
I had that as a question too.
I mean, I'm still partial to the ones in the 70s.
Okay.
Even though I wouldn't say Fast Break is age great from a
What's the
political
one that
correctness
Nicholson
standpoint.
directed? Is he Drive? He said, is he coach in that one, or is he just an
I
ex
remember that
player?
one.
That's in the 70s. I saw that come up the other
This
day.
is probably my favorite college basketball movie of all time.
Mine too. I mean, it's like basically our generation
Yeah.
snapshot. I mean, we get to see all of our favorite players. in
What
that.
about recruiting scenes? Apex Mountain for recruiting.
I
in a
still
movie.
like when Brad Pitt goes to Chris Pratt to get him to come to the A's in Moneyball.
In Moneyball?
He's like, we're gonna move you to first base.
And I would go Gene Hackman going to see Jimmy Chitwood and them doing the I don't care if you play or not. Fucking bold move by Gene. Our guy.
I'm gonna say that, even though I'm gonna say that the recruiting scene at Tech and He Got Game is pretty special.
Oh, with the Joe Kelly and Chasey Lane?
Yeah.
They're listed IMDb in that movie.
Yeah.
Cruz or Hanks?
Hanks.
Hanks.
Hanks. You like Cruz, so I got Hanks.
Hanks.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't say our guy Tom?
Tom, I never would have believed ever would have been in any way part of
a college.
A collective.
He's too.
College.
Yeah, you're right.
He's 5'6".
I tell you,
like
Tom is interesting for Happy.
Oh yeah.
Doing like a Les Grossman?
Like a Tom is interesting for Happy as the fucking like evil Jerry Maguire type.
Scorsese or Spielberg?
Scorsese.
Yeah. What role would Philip Seymour Hoffman have played?
The guy who delivers Neon's Lexus.
That is Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I think he would have been an unbelievable Happy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Craig, you got one more flex.
I have 2 flexes?
You don't need it to do it if you don't want to.
I just want to pile on Cruz that I just imagining Cruz in the paint trying to teach Neon footwork is just all time.
With wearing like 6-inch boots disguised as Nikes.
Yeah.
Neon picking him up so he can dunk.
I think if Cruz had the Jerry Maguire energy as Pete Bell and it's a completely different movie, I'm not sure I'm against it as a movie. Him doing the speech at the end.
Yeah. Where he's just like, I'm a completely broken man. Yeah.
No, the answer
It
is
needs to be Cruz now, like old Cruz maybe, young Cruz.
Old Cruz maybe, yeah.
Old Cruz maybe.
Tom Cruise isn't old.
I know, it's what he
He's
keeps
still
telling
changed
Anna
the-
Darmus.
Yeah, picking nets. So, no conference tournament for Western U. That before Penny and Shaq get there, season's just over. There's not like, we're in the quarterfinals next week against so and so. Just regular season and we're out. What is this like the fucking like NESCAC?
Generally speaking, they miss a couple of times on like just references to real college basketball. I think they like talk about the NIT as like, oh yeah, we had a good season. We were in the NIT. It's
right.
Like, you guys would have been really disappointed if you were in the NIT.
I feel like the last game of the season would have been a conference tournament.
The
game.
basketball stuff in the movie, in terms of
It's weak.
The actual like what would really happen and how things really. They just expect you to go along.
Because then
with what
there's
they're
another
saying.
part. They're recruiting Neon, and they're recruiting all these guys, and then Neon comes to LA to get tutored by Pete's ex-wife, and we have no idea what time of the year is. And then he passes the SATs in a week, and then all of a sudden he's in class. And it's like,
well, she peeps the fact that he could pass it at any time that he wants.
Yeah, but it still takes a couple weeks to get it back. Is this August or we in September? Is school going at this point?
Once hoops starts at Halloween.
Well,
yeah, but it's just
so
I was left with some questions.
They were getting recruited in the summer because after the season, or
they're getting recruited when their freshman year starts in September. They're getting recruited that spring. Like everyone has committed already.
He goes right to, well, yeah. You know
where you're going.
There's still a couple of players that would be holding out, but for the most part, those guys would.
And then their season's over, and then he goes to Chicago, but Butch McRae's high school is still playing. Like there's a lot of timeline stuff that's tough.
Maybe that's AAU. Yeah.
Western University's name is the Dolphins.
Yeah.
The fuck is that? You're in LA and you're the Western University Dolphins?
Wait a minute.
What are you doing?
It's at the beach. They got mad dolphins.
They're not near the beach. We don't see the beach once in this movie.
I know, but
we're
it's
in like where it's like where UCLA is.
But you would think that you could have the Dolphins. It's on the coast. Maybe the Dolphins.
What's Pepperdine's team?
I could see Pepperdine. At least you're in Malibu near
It
the
could
water.
be the Malibu Dolphins. What's
Western University Dolphins?
I think generally speaking, fictional sports teams are really bad
Terrible.
at picking like the
Again,
name.
I'm right
Pepperdine
here.
is the Waves.
The Waves.
The Waves.
Which is
much
also
better.
Pepperdine Waves.
Much better.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Waves, yeah.
Again, I'm always here as the sports movie consultant.
I
That's
got
an
you.
easy
Yeah.
email where I'm like, don't name them the Dolphins.
Are there any sports like colleges that have the Dolphin moniker, that have the Dolphin mascot? Anybody using the
Probably
Dolphins?
not.
Only
Maybe that's why they did
Miami
it.
Got the Dolphins. Doesn't bother me that much, but I guess I see your point.
Jacksonville University has Nelly the Dolphin as their mascot.
Okay.
and
near
the
the water.
College of Mount St. Vincent. So
Julio.
Another nitpick. Ed O'Neill just has pictures
peace.
of all the recruiting violations.
yeah, and
Here's a picture of Neon getting a car. Here's like he just happens to.
and he has like enemy of the state zoom in technology
Yeah.
on his computer.
First of all,
It's 1994. We don't even have like the internet yet.
he's a local reporter
Yeah.
who's made it his goal to take down the school that is the most beloved thing.
This guy's house would be burned down.
This guy
Yeah.
doesn't exist
Yeah.
in Baton Rouge.
Happy
The
would
one-
have had
the-
this guy
like-
killed.
Like the
People-
one,
everyone would hate this guy.
yeah, this guy doesn't. The one guy, like if there's a national reporter,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe he works for USA Today or something like that. I don't know, but if there's
No,
a,
he's supposed to be Plashke, right?
Right,
He's supposed
yeah.
to be like a big LA guy.
if there's a national reporter who's doing this story, that's one thing. But if there's a guy who's doing a WBRZ, WAFB, who's making it his fucking job, or at the Advocate in Baton Rouge to take
Yeah.
down an LSU coach, he's like living in hell the entire time he's walking by.
Probably doesn't get on around the horn. Probably stays local.
Picking nit. When Freddie says under the table recruiting is his version of personal hell, it's just like take it down a notch,
Yeah.
Freddie.
What are you doing, Freddie?
You know,
It's not that big of a
you're a
deal.
fucking college basketball coach.
I think Freddie got hired by Oklahoma State 3 years later and was fired within 18 months
Yeah.
Yeah.
just for being a shitty coach.
Picking it, so they could get Indiana's rights to be in the movie for Bobby Knight in Indiana to be
but not would
but
that
not
be Kentucky? Patino?
Kentucky or like any of the other teams.
And not the NCAA because it
And not
ends up
the
being the
NCAA. So-
NCSA.
Yeah,
what the
that's
fuck
right.
is up with that? Like you have Bobby Knight and Indiana. The movie is actually 10 to 15% cooler if you have
All the schools.
Richard
Yeah, you're right.
Pitino in Kentucky and all of these other schools.
I think Bobby Knight was so powerful at that point that they probably asked him. He's like, yeah, fuck it. I'll get it done. And just like crossed lines and didn't get permission would be my guess.
Yeah.
At the end, first of all, there's a bunch of young kids playing pickup basketball at 10 at night
This was
outside.
a possibly unanswerable question I had for you.
Yeah, they're just outside at 10 at LA. And none of them know who Pete Bell is when he comes over to help them with some coaching. We've already established this is the most important guy in this whole universe. None of them know who he is, and I don't know why they're playing basketball that late.
Also, furthermore, if you were like watching Ben practice and like a random guy came out and just like stopped the game and was like,
You would think he was
"We're
like
gonna
an
run
alcoholic.
1-4 motion."
Right.
That's the nit.
Right.
Them playing out there, I don't know what time it is, but them playing
It's
out
after
there,
a basketball game, so it's probably close to like 10 o'clock.
them playing out there just speaks to the greater ills of society.
Yeah.
We all need to kind of come together and help the children. But you bet not get your dumb ass off the basketball court trying to teach me how to shoot.
Yeah.
Like, get off the court.
Well, in 2025, this guy wanders onto the court and his pants are down by his ankles and probably takes a shit.
We got
And that's the end of the movie. Any other picks?
No, you just nailed it. Thanks.
Thank you. My pleasure. Sequel, prequel, Prestige TV, all Blackcast are untouchable. This is would have been the easiest layup for an 8-episode streaming era show from 2012 on.
Yeah.
And it's probably better suited for a streaming show, I would say.
So I have a pitch.
Yeah.
So it's an early 2000s pitch. It's a sequel.
Okay.
But it's not with Penny. The pitch is actually Pete Bell's return to college basketball, right? In the 2000s. Neon is his assistant coach. He's just got finished playing and they're coaching against the dirtiest coach in college basketball, who is now Ricky Rowe.
Oh, yes.
Like Ricky Rowe.
Ricky Rowe is tractors for everybody.
Ricky Rowe is the Louisville Rick Pitino.
Yeah.
Girls, hoes everywhere.
Not even
Higgins.
girls anymore.
Yeah.
He's past girls.
He's past,
He's paying guys to come over.
Ricky Rowe is running the dirty program. Pete Bell has a beef with Ricky Rowe. Ricky Rowe's on top, and he's coming back into college basketball with Neon to clean up college basketball.
Or couldn't that be 2025, Butch McRae versus Ricky Rowe?
Could be.
Yeah.
Neon as the assistant?
Yeah.
Could be.
And now the guy who's like, take a hike has like a podcast and it's really influential in college.
That's the name of the
Yeah.
podcast.
Take a
The
hike.
podcast is called Take a Hike.
Yeah.
Where he talks about everybody who needs to get fired.
It's like, today I have Tate Frazier on. We talk about the Final 8.
Tate, tell us why St. John's coach Richard Pitino needs to take a hike.
Take a hike, presented by State Farm. Is this movie better with Wayne Jenkins, Danny Trejo, Doris Burke, Sam Jackson, Nell, Byron Mayo, Chris Berman, Barney Cousins, Tony Romo, Harley Mays, Chris Collinsworth, Daniel Plainview, Longlegs, or Wilford Brimley in The Firm?
I'm bringing back JT Walsh.
Okay.
He's in the movie, so we can bring him back. And I'm bringing back JT Walsh as Markinson. When Pete Bell calls him out at the press conference, he goes, I don't want a deal and I don't want immunity. I want you to know that I am proud neither of what I have done or what I am doing. Gets up and nickel plated.
That's the last scene of the movie?
And then the take a hike guy is like, looks like Western got the death penalty.
Oh, man.
That's so fucked up.
No, then we need... That's where you need, like, Tom... How do we get drunk Tom Cruise in there for the next scene?
Oh my
Maybe Tom,
God.
like if he was the Ed O'Neill part, and he comes
Tom
in.
Cruise is
Shit.
No, Tom Cruise is koozie.
Right.
Oh no. Poor Markinson, bro. He had so much on his mind.
There is no
man.
Markinson.
Yeah.
Markinson doesn't exist.
If Markinson doesn't exist, take out the
I'm neither proud of what I did. Oh my God.
Oh shit.
Happy was way more like Colonel Nathan Jessup than he was like
Maybe he was
Markinson.
Markinson, yeah.
I was workshopping something where when they're in Algiers, they run into Nell for 2 seconds as they're looking for the gym, and she's like, and they're like, this fucking lady's crazy. Let's get away.
Like she's in the woods?
Yeah, she's in the woods.
Yeah.
She's in the woods in Algiers with the alligators. Just won Oscar. Who gets it? Tough one.
Yeah, it's tough. Because it seems like the obvious answer is Nolte, but he's going so far that
I think I'd probably go Shelton's screenplay, and just because he's probably the best writer of sports movies ever.
Yeah. I'd probably go JT Walsh, but I don't really feel like anyone deserves an Oscar.
not really, but if you had to give one, it'd be the script.
Probably unanswerable questions. Why wasn't Jalen Rose in this was my number one? I don't really have any other ones. We've already covered everything.
We covered a bunch of them.
What piece of memorabilia would you want or not want from this movie? Pete Bell's ring, which is his championship ring, which is prominently shown over and over again, I think would be a good one. But for me, it would be Tony's number 44 blue Western jersey during the point shaving game. I just think it would be a great thing to have in the house.
I'd like one of those TV VCR combos and then all the game tapes.
Oh, all the
game
ones?
tapes would be fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
What would
and
you
I would
have,
also
Van?
honestly love B-roll, like extra footage that Friedkin had of just the practices and games that.
Yeah, that should just be on YouTube. Those games.
Yeah,
I would
watching the Bobby Hurley, Calbert Cheney, Indiana,
like
team.
how they actually were getting down and going crazy.
That'd
be a fun. That's a fun rewatchables category. If this footage existed, how much of it would you watch on YouTube?
Yeah.
I think I'm in for over an hour of the game footage.
Absolutely, watching Hurley in the Indiana uniform is so surreal.
It's kind of like, I look pretty cool.
It did.
Do you feel like that point guard style is just gone now? That point guard with the head up, pounding the ball, who's always looking, who's always ready to run like the perfect 3-on-2.
He starts the set so fast.
Yeah, he's just
it's morphed a little bit. It's kind of gone, but I see it in some players.
Bronny?
You're hating on him. He had 17.
I was saying it's 17 yesterday.
He had 17. All right, Stephen A.
Because now it's like, but the type of point guard now is like the Darius Garland type would be the type in this. The opposing guy in the movie.
You know
would
who
be
has a little
Darius
bit of
Garland
his new Scoot?
I was about to say Scoot. Scoot has a little bit of that.
Thanks for that, CR.
Scoot's coming
back.
along.
No,
I
but
know.
it's more like a maxi type. It's
Priscilla
like
and I
guy
have
like-
so much Scoot stock. It's like our brokers are like telling us to
Scoot.
offload it right now.
Like,
We're like,
Scoot's coming
no,
along.
doubling down.
You think Reed Shepherd used to be a guy that would be like that, but Reed Shepherd's a little too silky. He can do a little bit too many things.
The Zawantne Award for what happened the next day. I'm bringing this back just for this movie. We talked about. I just think we have to go through the three guys.
Well,
We
they
find
do
out
the title cards, right?
we find out Ricky Rowe injured his knee and works on a farm. Tough beat.
Karma for him.
They made him somehow the least likable guy in a movie with a point shaver and a booster who's shaving points and paying off players, and Pete Bell, who's not likable.
Racist, horny, well, at least his dad, like asshole. Like his
I
character.
think Ricky Rowe is like he welcomed all races.
I think Ricky Rowe.
He would have sex with anybody.
I think Ricky Rowe was cool, but they didn't give his character and his
good
family,
handshake with Shaq at one point.
and his family. They gave them like no dimension.
He also really does not have much of a role on the team, as they kind of. I like they don't. There's not a lot of Ricky Rowe footage we get outside of him shooting in the yard.
That was kind of the last era for the Ricky Rowe type guys. That kind of 6'7", 6'8".
Matt Harpering type dude.
Yeah. It's like, it peaked with Austin Crocier in the 2000 finals, and then
he was getting busy.
Slowly went down.
Gordon Hayward is the last gasp.
Butch, I just think it's the actual careers the guys had, except Neon would have been like 5 years older getting into the league. But same kind of, I think, arcs. I think Neon might make an All-NBA.
Neon's playing Shaq.
Yeah.
So he's Shaq in personality. Even when he walks out there after all of this stuff has happened, and he goes, "Coach," and you think he's about to say something profound, like, "You really changed my life, getting me out of the jungle of Algiers, snakes everywhere, alligators, all of that."
Nell was yelling at me.
He's like the whole deal, and he
Long
goes,
legs is behind me.
Right? He goes, "You like my spin move?"
Yeah.
And then that's who Shaq is.
Coach Finstock Award, best life lesson.
I guess if you're going to cheat, don't act ashamed of it. You know what I mean? Like, that's sort of what comes along with all of this.
Mine is just fucking cheat. Just fucking cheat.
Yeah,
dog.
why not?
Yeah.
Stop acting like a bitch. Cheat, get the wins. Like, nobody cares. You coaching in the Midwest somewhere, kids and whatever. Just cheat, man.
Do you think Jenny and Pete get back together? Seems like not.
I mean, if she...
Marcus Johnson, I think he circles back.
I mean,
after Pete quits, I think he's coming by with a
uses the
bottle of
Horlbeck
wine.
call twice method.
Well, like the reality is, like, who's gonna fucking want her? CR.
I think she should move. Why didn't she move after the divorce? Get out of there. Start your life somewhere else.
She's a teacher in Los Angeles.
Move to like wherever.
Maybe
move to Anaheim.
She takes her. She takes some.
Get away from this guy.
She takes her some fucking pride in herself and the way that she looks and her appearance. Maybe she can actually get a man, because she's not gonna get Marcus Johnson looking like that.
He's messing with you.
She's gonna have to be Ebony Jet Beauty of the Week.
Go to a store that sold clothes from the last 10 years.
Zwant Neo, does Bob Cousy's Vic character have a massive heart attack when his entire athletic program is brought to its knees?
Yeah,
he's got the football program. It's fine.
They're dirty too.
The football program gets outed at the press conference.
Like, Happy says a linebacker, and they buy in people friends of the program.
My Coach Finstock Award for best life lesson is go wide on the basketball scenes. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. We like to see basketball from a certain perspective, and don't overthink it. Best double feature choice.
I think White Man Can't Jump just because. No, you know what? I'm going to go above the rim.
Oh, that's good.
Above the rim.
I'm going with the program.
I have one-on-one with Robbie Benson. I would watch that first. It's also Western University. It's basically the same things, but it's the 70s perspective on it. It's a really good movie.
One-on-one with Robbie Benson?
Robbie Benson, big moment now.
Out of all the 70s basketball movies, which I obviously have loved and seen a million times, I think it's weirdly aged the best. It's got Seals and Croft as the soundtrack. Annette O'Toole, soon to be seen in 48 Hours, is the love interest. Yeah. It's got good basketball scenes. And I don't know, Robbie Benson can kind of hoop. Like, for real. He's like a little Austin Reeves-ish.
Okay,
man, check it out.
Should San Antonio just put a contract on the table for Robbie Benson?
Well, very youthful-looking 70-year-old guy here.
He's in Severance now.
Dan, some 70s babes in that movie, too.
Like who?
Like, for real. No, there's like a let's get the lead character laid scene.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you'll
I'm
like
into
it.
that, yeah.
Who won the movie? Tough one.
I'm going to say Nolte. It defines the movie. His performance defines the movie.
For me personally, Kuzi wins it, but I actually
Are
think...
you fucking kidding me?
Kuzi's amazing.
Kuzi's
amazing.
What are you doing, Bill?
10 straight free throws with the cameras rolling. Fucking A. Was there a better athletic moment in a sports movie in the 90s?
Like, Bill,
10 straight.
Bill, Shaquille O'Neal is fucking
Larry Bird is shooting free throws in this movie.
like like Penny looks.
Said the heart wants what the heart wants.
You're joking. You're joking.
I said for me, Bob Cousy wins the movie because I love seeing the Coos in this movie.
Not Mary McDonald's costume designer.
No. Right. I actually think
Shaq wins the movie.
I think Shaq wins the movie.
Yeah.
I think all these years later, I think this movie's a huge win for him.
Yeah.
It's the only time he's really been hyper he can charisma his way through anything, but the only time he's been really competent in a movie to me is this one.
All right. Producer Craig had never seen this movie.
Really?
Let's get the take.
Also, not to outdo Kuzi, but Ricky Rowe hits like 4 straight jumpers on a dirt road. So
Ricky Rowe is just fucking, they real shots.
By the way, the sequel to me has to be Nolte goes to Pete Bell goes to Montana State, builds a team the old school way, and then ends up meeting Western in March as a 15 versus 2 seed.
Freddie's coaching them.
Yeah. East Dillon, West Dillon style.
Yeah. That would be awesome. But I love this movie. This is an early contention for top 5 rewatchables of 2025.
Wow.
I thought
really
it was
exciting.
Just a really great nostalgic look at an old era. It takes a lot of swings. I think honestly most of it works. I think all the Pete Bell stuff plays for me. The romanticism plays for me. As I was watching, I just jotted down 6 bullet points. This is what I wrote down watching. One of the great opening sports movie scenes ever. Fantastic pace for a movie where, a lot of it takes place in offices or in homes in the Midwest. Happy as the most what's age the best and worst speech of all time. I think it's the best basketball in a movie ever.
Interesting.
I think
the case made.
I think it's the most refreshing old school cameos that kind of also represent an era that's it. Like Jim Boeheim just sitting in the background. It's just, if that'd be like if Damien Chazelle made a football movie today and it was like, oh yeah, Kyle Shanahan's in it, Malik Neighbors is the main character, Drake May's in it for a couple scenes, something that wouldn't happen today.
Don't get Bill mad with only a couple scenes.
Yeah, right. Why isn't Drake May the star? What happened there?
I also wrote down Creedence Clearwater Revival, Jenny Bell, greatest ex-wife of all time, and Bob Cousy. You'd sooner believe that Cousy was an actor they taught to play basketball than the other way around.
Cousy's very good.
Cousy's very good as an actor.
That's also a shot at his form, though. I gotta say, it's a little Stanley from The Office. Not gonna lie.
What were you surprised by the ending?
Don't ignore that. Address it.
No, I think I think it needed to happen. I think it's one of the only sports movies I can remember that doesn't end on the big game, and the actual games don't really have too big of an impact on the movie.
Yeah,
it's impressive that the basketball is so good, considering that the basketball's not that essential to the film, and it doesn't end. I mean, the end of the movie is the first game of the season, which I can't remember when that's happened. So I thought the ending really worked for me. Also, did you guys do a better title? I think there's a better title for this movie.
What is it?
I think it's Friends of the Program.
Friends of the Program is good, but then it reorients the movie around the Friends of the Program and not really the players, which is what the movie is essentially about.
What about Where the Dolphins Swim?
Did they say blue chips in the movie?
No.
I feel like they should have. It's the rare time when I think they should have said, we need to get some blue chips on this.
But I'll be honest with you, the title of this movie is how I understood what that meant.
Yeah, I think I'm good with the title, but I like Friends of the Program. It's pretty good.
Or
they should make
recruits,
a movie.
The recruits would be good.
Yeah, they should make a movie called Friends of the Program that's oriented around, like a movie about Happy and those types would be super duper interesting.
I think you needed an extra scene that then set up the title. Where if you have, if they're going we need to get guys in the top 10. We need 10 recruits
blue
again.
Chippers.
And then you call it top 10 and it's we got 3 top 10 blue chippers or the blue chippers, something.
Yeah.
Somebody says that at some point. I'm down with that.
I also just like when great directors make movies that are outside their typical, what you would expect of them. I almost wish there were prerequisites in college where directors had to make every kind of movie before they could choose a major. The guy who just made The Exorcist doing a basketball movie is really cool. And I think it's why visually it is a little bit more unique than typical sports movies.
It's not just The Exorcist that he made, Craig. He also made Cruising.
Yeah.
Cruising.
Yeah.
So we haven't done French Connection, so this is our third Freakin'.
I think there's a fourth one.
We haven't done To Live and Die in LA yet.
I love that movie.
Oh, auditioning.
I'm just saying I love it. I mean,
out on 4K Blu-ray. Well, Mulaney's kind of bringing it back with the Netflix show.
I know.
He basically ripped
Got
out the opening credits.
Do you don't think Jenny Bell is Apex Mountain for ex-wives in a movie? She basically gives up her personal life to crush tape. She lets you come over after the game to blow off steam and drink, and she recruits students for you for free.
It's weird because
She's basically doing everything for him except giving up the pussy.
She does more than Freddie.
She's basically
It would
like
take
the
too long to
GM
get her
of the
clothes
team.
off. She's wearing like 5 different pieces of clothing. She's wearing a shirt, a sweater, a jacket.
She's still so involved. He can ask her for anything except for physical affection.
She's going out to
It's
dinner
like
with
they're
him.
still married.
She's
It's
making
interesting,
Google
though,
eyes at him still.
It's the era of the wet blanket sports movie girlfriend slash wife.
Yeah,
for
Renee
it's starting with
Russo,
Adrian.
Yeah.
She's not
and
a wet blanket though. I don't.
No,
think
they
Jenny
try
is.
not to make her the wet blanket, but then at the end, when she's super disappointed and
She definitely becomes a wet blanket after a while.
she wet blankets it up, but she's kind of justified because she's the only person with a soul in the movie.
I was going to ask you, we didn't really do Big Kahuna Burger, Craig, but would you like it if like basically everybody from work went to the same restaurant every night?
Yeah, hell yeah.
And I walked in one night with like 2 ladies.
Craig, she's a friend. These guys are fans of the Fantasy Pod.
Yeah. These gals love hyphens.
Who would be the?
They got first in their fantasy league.
If we were all at the bar together, who would be the person that walked in with 2 ladies on their arms?
Brian Curtis. That's always the answer. It's a friend of the program.
A friend of the program.
Hello, media consumers.
Craig, really glad you liked that movie.
Loved
Don't forget, people listening, we're coming to Boston for a sold-out show, and we're doing a first-ever Rewatchables Film Festival at the historic Coolidge Corner all weekend, Friday, March 28th through the March 30th. We're gonna make a couple appearances.
Yeah.
But we're playing all the hits, man. We're showing Heat, we're showing The Town, we're showing Good Will Hunting, we're showing Friends of Eddie Coyle, a couple
Verdict.
old school ones, The Verdict.
So these are all
can't wait to-
Boston-based movies.
Oh, they're Boston or heist movies.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna be showing the HBO Max documentary "A Murder in Boston"? That would be good for the
Not
people.
showing.
We're
Okay.
showing all seasons of Oz
Yeah.
marathon.
All the Rick Fox episodes of Oz.
I
Showing that.
just
Rick Fox
just the
ones.
Rick Fox
want to
ones.
say to the people of Boston, if there is in fact any pickup basketball happening around 10 p.m., Bill is happy to come and coach the show,
Yeah,
guys.
10 p.m. 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or have Bob Cousy shoot free throws so you guys can be amazed. by him shooting.
My dad is
Lil Bob.
incredibly pumped for The Verdict.
How many of the movies do you think Dr. Bill's going to see?
Over unders 4.5.
Okay.
He doesn't have a lot going on. They got the new puppy. Celtics are
Oh,
away.
what kind of dog?
Got another golden.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Guess what? It might have been a mistake because he's 77 and the dog wakes up 3 times a day to pee. And he's got scratches all over him. And he's like, I don't know if we should have done this. But yeah, Coolidge Corner. One of my favorite. Do you ever actually live
Loved
there?
it. Yeah, I lived in Brookline
Yeah.
for a year.
The best. So we'll see you. Visit theringer.com/events for showtimes, ticket information. You've never been to Boston, Van.
Not really.
You've been through it?
Yeah, a little bit.
You know what Boston hasn't appreciated? Your shots. Your shots at the city.
At the city?
The needles.
I'm sure that Boston is a
You would love Boston.
is a fine place.
Boston would love you.
I just have to keep you honest, man.
I believe it.
Because the agenda is so
Well, you know
crazy.
what? Today
said
you guys
Bob
went too
Cousy
far with Bob
won
Cousy.
the movie.
I said he won the movie for me. I said he won the movie
Well,
for
when
me.
I said Nick Nolte, you looked at me like what a cock.
crazy.
I
He's
can't
No,
believe
'cause
you're
not
saying
like
that.
he's the
Yeah.
star of the movie. Bob
No,
Cousy
I
makes,
just think Shaq clearly wins the movie.
Okay.
Bob Cousy makes like the free. And by the way, the free throws, even though he's shooting them, you know, it's impressive. But come on, man.
The free throws did not impress me at all. Is that bad? That didn't even cross
Also,
my mind.
Kuzi, maybe not a great scene partner. He's not letting Nick Nolte shoot, you know?
I'm done with this podcast. See you later.